College hoops, 2-0 Illini hosts number 7 Marquette tomorrow night. 2-0 Northwestern will welcome the Western Michigan Broncos. Tonight, Northern Illinois hosts Illinois Tech. Raiders a win over the Jets on Sunday Night Football. By the way, if you were keeping track, an NFL record was set on Sunday. 5 teams, the Texans, the Browns, Cardinals, Lions, and Seahawks, all kicked game-winning field goals as time expired. And Week 10 wraps up with the Bills hosting the Broncos on Monday Night Football. The news service of the AM 560 Advantage. You can join today, 560theanswer.com/join. Our news time is 5:07. We'll have a check of traffic and weather coming up next on AM 560.
Make sure that you never miss a day of Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson when you subscribe to the Chicago's Morning Answer podcast, presented by Signature Bank. Listen to the entire show each day on demand with limited commercial breaks. You can subscribe today for free at 560theanswer.com and click on podcasts or search for Chicago's Morning Answer on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
This is Albert Mohler for Townhall.com. The 20th century knew more than its share of evil and of evil powers. But something new, ominous, and world-shaping came into view in 1936 when fascist Italy and Nazi Germany declared a Rome-Berlin Axis, united in opposition to the rest of Europe. Now, as Israel fights against a massive attack by the Islamic terrorist organization Hamas, even as Ukraine fights against a Russian invasion, the picture coming into view reveals a new axis of evil that poses a civilizational challenge that the United States and our allies cannot ignore. Once again, an Axis threat looms. The new axis of evil includes Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea. Each is working to subvert the world order. All 4 are driven by an aggressive ideology. We're about to find out if freedom-loving nations can muster the determination to defend our freedoms against rogue regimes. Far too many politicians and world leaders refuse to acknowledge the reality, but denial is deadly.
Publicpolicy.pepperdine.edu. Hi, Wayne Burdick, Health Insurance Specialist. Open enrollment for individual and small group plans has arrived. There are many plan changes for 2024. Let me help you find the right plan. Lower your cost of insurance, reduce deductibles and out-of-pocket expenses. Call now, 847-274-5918, or go to lowercosthealthplans.com. Having an agent is crucial and no cost to you. Call Burdick Insurance at 847-274-5918 or lowercosthealthplans.com.
Rick Borick, host of Unleash Your Wealth.
When the stock market struggles, when inflation is high, you need to start looking through the inventory of all your accounts and say, is every one of these investments working as hard as it could be? Because every month during high inflation that you waste, you're losing 8 or 9% a year.
Unleash Your Wealth, Saturday at 7 a.m. and our new time at 2 p.m. here on AM 560, The Answer.
It's 5:10 on AM 560, The Answer. Let's check the roads. In the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, a service of Lowe's. Get great deals all month long when you shop Black Friday. Every day at Lowe's. Buy 1 DeWalt 20-volt Max 4-tool combo kit. Get 2 select tools free. Valid through 11/22 while supplies last. Selection, of course, will always vary by location. Humboldt Park, an accident. Central Park south of Chicago Avenue. Bensonville, an accident this early morning. Route 83, or Kingery Highway if you prefer, at Irving Park Road. Expressways and toll roads are off, and right now they're on time. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy starts next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. We get the latest now with our AccuWeather meteorologist, Steve Williams.
Sunshine looks like a mild day, high 63, clear tonight, low 37, and then sunny, warm day tomorrow, the high at 65. Plenty of sunshine, nice day on Wednesday, high Wednesday afternoon, 66. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
44 at O'Hare, 44 Midway. Across the western suburbs, 29 in Aurora, 35 in Joliet, and across the south, Kankakee is 38 in Lansing, It's 41. Your next news update, 5:30. Chicago's Morning Answer starts next on AM 560, The Answer.
Would you go to court without a lawyer when the other guy is lawyered up? Or are you going to go it alone and learn law and procedure as you go? When you have an insurance claim for your home or business, it's the same thing.
This is Dan Lights from Crosscom. We inspect your property, file your claim, negotiate the damages, and maximize your settlement with your insurance company.
Insurance companies will send out their inspectors that work for them, get paid by them, and represent them. Not you.
If we complete the repairs approved by your insurance company, our service is free. Crosscom Public Adjusters has turned denied claims into approved claims. We've also increased insurance claims anywhere from 23 to 1,000%, and we could do the same for you. We are licensed by the Department of Insurance and work in Illinois, Northwest Indiana, and Southern Wisconsin. Crosscom Public Adjusters, 630-871-5500. Online at crosscominc.com. That's crosscominc.com. Crosscom, building trust for over 20 years.
Did you know most vitamin supplements have a warning label on the back? That's because without the synergy of thousands of nutrients working together that are found naturally in whole fruits and vegetables, vitamins are not balanced. This is why Balance of Nature only uses whole fruits and vegetables, no isolates or synthetic vitamins of any kind. We take a variety of 31 of the highest quality fruits and vegetables and remove the water without changing the rich chemistry. It's then ground to a powder, blended to perfection, and encapsulated, preserving the nutrients and making it easy to get the fruits and vegetables you need. So even though Balance of Nature comes in a capsule and looks like a vitamin, it's very different. Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Hey, it's Scott Tucker, host of Retirement Dakota with Scott Tucker on AM 560. We're heard every Sunday at 8 a.m. and again at 5 p.m. I want to let you know about a new book I just came out with called Escape Illinois, Should I Stay or Should I Go? It's a great tax planning book, whether you stay in Illinois or you look to leave. Escape Illinois, Should I Stay or Should I Go? Get your copy of the book at 560book.com. That's 560book.com. And listen to the program on Sunday.
Hey, I'm Raquel.
And I'm Babette.
Here to invite you to listen to our show, Belly of the Beast,
where we tackle all the hot topics and issues that you are talking about today.
So join us each week for our
hard-hitting,
fun,
informative,
topical,
out there
radio show where we leave nothing on the table.
Belly of the Beast, heard every Saturday evening at 7, right here on AM 560, The Answer. And follow us on Facebook at Belly of the Beast IL.
Get ready for an event like no other. It's Glock Days at Gat Guns in East Dundee, Illinois, happening on November 18th and 19th. Are you a Glock enthusiast? Or maybe you're just curious about what makes Glock the gold standard in firearms? Well, mark your calendars, because on November 18th, Gat Guns has the Glock rep right there in store, ready to answer all your burning questions. Gat Guns is loaded up with hundreds of Glock pistols and even more Glock accessories. Whether you're a seasoned pro or a first-time buyer, they've got something special just for you. Don't miss this Gat Guns exclusive sales event, where you will find unbelievable deals and discounts on most of the Glock lineup. While you're there, enter to win a new Glock pistol. So, gear up, lock in, and join Gat Guns for Glock Days on November 18th and 19th, Saturday and Sunday at Gat Guns in East Dundee, Illinois. This event is not to be missed. For more information and directions, visit gatguns.com. That's gatguns.com.
Check out the America's Talking Podcast, a show featuring thoughtful conversations with host Austin Berg and guests that range from opioid epidemic expert Dr. Limpke.
What are the best predictors of a person's ability or likelihood of success in overcoming an addiction?
Really interesting question. I mean, it's a combination of the biopsychosocial aspects that make up the disease of addiction in the first place. Biology speaks to the sort of inborn or innate vulnerability to addiction that person has in their DNA. What's their genetic load?
To stand-up comedian Mark Normand.
For me, it was a couple of things. I was finally getting some heat. I opened for Seinfeld. I did Joe Rogan. I had a Tonight Show come out. I was like cooking. And then the COVID hit. I was selling tickets for the first time in my life.
Listen to the America's Talking podcast at americastalking.com or wherever you get your podcast.
When you're serious about your concealed carry training and education and are ready to learn from an active police officer with a teaching degree, check out Illinois Concealed Carry Training in Midlothian. You'll learn safe, responsible firearm use, home defense planning, conflict avoidance, situational awareness, and how to remain physically, morally, and financially safe in the event you must use your firearm in self-defense or the defense of another. Weekday and weekend classes available.
I'm Sergeant Gary Carr, police firearms trainer and the owner of Illinois Concealed Carry Training. We'll arm you with what really counts: knowledge and training. All concealed carry curriculums are not created equal. This may be the single most important decision you'll ever make for yourself and your loved ones. Choose between 3 and 16-hour classes that are available both weekdays and weekends. We are your one-stop for concealed carry classes, fingerprints, and legal defense plans.
Register for a class today and get 10% off class fees with promo code AM560. Visit IllinoisConcealedCarry.com. That's IllinoisConcealedCarry.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Thanks to everyone who joined us at Freedom Summit on Saturday. Another great turnout, a great day of conversation, discussion, speechifying from the Rand Pauls of the world and many others. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Good to catch up with a lot of people that we see annually at Freedom Summit. So, again, appreciate your support of the station and that particular event. Some big news last night. And I love the way it was delivered, I got to tell you. Tim Scott doesn't get the credit for being as spontaneous as he apparently is. The senator from South Carolina, Tim Scott, on Trey Gowdy's program on Fox News. His good friend, Trey Gowdy, from fellow South Carolinian. And Trey Gowdy didn't see this coming.
When I go back to Iowa, it will not be as a presidential candidate. I am suspending my campaign. I think the voters who are the most remarkable people on the planet have been really clear that they're telling me, not now, Tim. I don't think they're saying, Trey, no, but I do think they're saying not now. And so I'm going to respect the voters, and I'm going to hold on and keep working really hard and look forward to another opportunity.
You were suspending your presidential campaign. You have plenty of money. You have the highest approval numbers of any candidate that is running, and you're a couple of states away from coming to a state where you are beloved, and you are suspending your presidential campaign.
Romans 8:28 is such an important scripture. It says that all things work together for good for those who love God and are called according to his purpose. I think the message is clear for me right now. I am indeed suspending the campaign, but I am going to remain as committed to making sure that this country chooses the right person by enjoying the journey of just helping people everywhere throughout South Carolina and through our country. We have an amazing country. I'm very thankful to be in America. We should all be proud of this country. I was a kid, Trey, as you know, nearly failed out of high school as a freshman. And here I am, was running for president just a few minutes ago.
Boundless optimism from Tim Scott. Positive message, even on the way out, the way he came in, the way he said he would campaign. And he did so, but Tim Scott is out now, so you're basically almost down to DeSantis and Haley. I know Ramaswamy and Chris Christie are still bouncing around, but it's really consolidating around a 3-candidate race, Trump, DeSantis, and Haley, which is my way of saying it's really still a 1-candidate race, and that would be Trump. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA. Turnkey.pro text line, your comments on the departure of Tim Scott from the presidential contest. You have to speak into the microphone.
It's on. It's
There you
on.
go.
It's on.
Yeah.
Yeah. It says it's red. Good morning. I think Mindy made him do it. Tim Scott's
Oh,
girlfriend.
God. I knew you were going to blame it. Yeah, she's
it's
Yoko Ono.
Mindy,
Yeah,
my head
right.
is spinning like a whirlpool. You know, like they came out together as a couple after the last debate, and I don't know. No, didn't he recently get the
Yeah.
flu? And also the
He
writing
ma-
was on the wall with the polls.
Mindy said it's either me or the presidential contest. No, I don't think so. I think I think Scott's a pretty genuine guy, and I think what he said to Trey Gowdy, I just love him jackpotting his good friend Trey Gowdy. I mean, Gowdy was like, "What? Wait, what? Wait. So let me get this straight. You're suspending. So you're not." He was having a hard time processing it in real time. He thought, "Hey Trey, I've got a big announcement I'm going to make on your show." Nope. Just surprised him from stage left. It was kind of fun actually. But I think probably he was in trouble in terms of qualifying for the next debate. And as he said, he sees the writing on the wall, the voters saying, maybe not you, but not now. And that's the point that he made. The other thing, it was, it's sort of pro forma, but just to fill out the record. When asked about endorsing anybody, he demurred. He's not doing that. Not at least not at present. And when asked about interest in being VP, he also demurred. He's not, I ran for president. VP's not on my list. All the sort of usual statements you make. But clearly, he's going to be on, I would think, Trump's short list and anybody else, if somehow anybody else was able to secure the nomination away from Trump.
Text messages on our text line 64636. Type in DA. Then a quick comment. Or call us 312-642-5600. Dan and Amy, really, now when do the others drop out? Chris Christie needs to go.
Well,
but all he does is go on network. He was on this week bashing Trump once again.
Well, probably so. He needs to go, but whatever. He's irrelevant, and he's I guess putting all his hopes and dreams on some sort of big surprise in New Hampshire in a couple of months, but don't see it happening. The others have, particularly DeSantis and Haley, have the money to continue. And so, again, if with the volatility of the landscape and the prospect of who knows what could occur between now and the spring with respect to Trump's trials and how that could potentially shake up the race, depending on how people react to the possibility that some of these cases will have been adjudicated, at least at the trial court level, they're going to stick around as long as the money allows them to stick around because, you're in this long. You might as well continue to push the fight if you're Haley or DeSantis in particular, especially if there was any sort of overperformance in early states. You may not even have to win Iowa or New Hampshire, but if you come in second place 10 points behind Trump instead of 30, so, momentum. Oh, he's starting to falter. Things are starting to shimmy. So that's, I think, what those campaigns are really thinking about, despite sort of their more rosy rhetoric publicly. Speaking of Trump, this was fun. Over the weekend, Trump and company in tow at Madison Square Garden for the UFC fight.
Oh, yeah, that was cool. Kid Rock was there. Tucker Carlson, his son, was there. Don Jr.
Tucker Carlson. Maybe Tucker Carlson is ahead of Tim Scott on the short list. I know there was this reference that Trump made last week. Tucker Carlson is a VP.
Oh,
and then right. Tucker Carlson is with, this was an odd group because of Tucker Carlson's inclusion. Kid Rock, Dana White, I get that. Don Jr., I get that. Tucker Carlson there in his country club blazer.
Right, he didn't. It's okay, they'll wear what you want.
Yeah. Yeah, that was great. But the reception, too, other than from Bill Burr's wife. Bill Burr's wife, if you saw on the internet, she's an actress named Nia Renee Hill. And when Trump was standing and being applauded, she gave him
the Milwaukee skyline.
Yeah, the double middle fingers, because she's a class act and she's a mature adult.
She looked like a fool. I mean, come on. But the ruckus, that when he was
Totally.
announced, the place went absolutely crazy.
I also like
Awesome.
this T-shirt, King Bao.
He wore that.
King Bao came out with a T-shirt that read, "Trump was indicted before anyone on Epstein's client list." That's pretty good. It's nice that in between training, he keeps up with the news, and I love the comparison. Right?
Yeah, what happened to that list? And Epstein was in red, by the way. The rest of the T-shirt was in white.
Epstein, right? Epstein was the human trafficker who had no clients. Still.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we need to get whoever leaked the Nashville school shooters manifesto on the Epstein client list job, and then allow John Roberts to borrow him too, right? About the leaking of the Dobbs opinion as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Epstein that has faded. We need to revisit that in some more global way. Maybe we'll have to get Bill Barr on the show to talk about that. Since he was Attorney General when Epstein met his untimely demise while in custody. And just, can anybody explain? Just since
How
King
he's
Bao brought
being
it up.
protected so much. I mean, even years after his death, too.
Well,
still being protected.
And Ghislaine Maxwell clearly isn't talking, didn't cut any deal, and she's still alive in prison as far as I know. But that is remarkable. We're supposed to have this overriding confidence in the Department of Justice, in federal law enforcement agencies, and yet Epstein is dead and Maxwell's in jail, and they had no clients to speak of. Thank you, King Bao, for bringing that back into the discussion. I can always count on those UFCers.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
Building owners, property managers, and chief engineers. This one's for you.
Hello, this is Bruce Diedrich with Waukegan Roofing, your professional roofer. Everything starts on top. Your investment, your building, and everything in it is protected by your roof. It needs to be in good shape. That's where we can help. If it needs to be repaired or replaced, or you think it might, call us. Let's find out. Here's the number.
847-623-1625.
At Waukegan Roofing, our employees are union-trained roofing professionals with OSHA safety training certifications and have thorough knowledge and expertise regarding the various roofing systems we sell, maintain, and install. We know commercial roofing systems because that's all we do. Over 110 years of doing commercial roofs. Waukegan Roofing has the slogan,
Roofs you can rely on.
Because you can. Here's the number to call.
847-623-1625.
And get the info at waukeganroofing.com. waukeganroofing.com.
If you're self-employed and purchase your own health insurance, I have some great news. From now until January 15th, the health insurance exchanges are open again. And even if you've never qualified for a health insurance subsidy before, you most likely will now. The American Rescue Plan expanded subsidy eligibility to millions of Americans who have never qualified before, even to those with high income levels. And this year, you can purchase a multi-state PPO policy, which includes access to Northwestern Medical Group, as well as other teaching hospitals around the nation. Employers who provide small group coverage also have new options, and so do seniors looking for Medicare supplement coverage. Call me. I can help.
If you're tired of calling a bureaucrat at an 800 number to help you navigate Obamacare, then you need a local expert on your side. C. Stephen Tucker from healthinsurancementors.com is someone I know and trust. He's a 25-year licensed broker who's been educating our listeners for more than 10 years. Steve, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Thanks, Dan. They can visit healthinsurancementors.com or call me directly at 630-674-1551.
Hi, I'm Martha Stewart. Every year, more than 4 million pets enter shelters here in the United States. My friends at American Humane have been helping animals since 1877. The goal is to ensure that pets have a safe shelter, especially during natural disasters. Adopting a shelter pet allows shelters to help more animals awaiting care. Please consider adopting today and take some time to learn more about American Humane's other work at americanhumane.org.
With the holidays upon us, the increase in traveling, shopping, and connecting online also heightens the need to protect your identity and finances with LifeLock. Identity thieves see this time of year as an opportunity to drain your accounts, open new loans in your name, and damage your financial future. LifeLock detects and alerts you to the threats you might miss on your own. Don't let the busy holiday season catch you off guard. Save up to 25% off your first year with promo code CLAY. LifeLock.com, promo code CLAY.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Amy, quickly, Chuck in Delavan, Wisconsin.
Hey, what they need to do is get a hold of that guy that was the facilities manager for that island, and then also the FAA reports flying helicopters in and out of there. They got to know if you can get a hold of that guy and then put the pressure on him, he'll tell you who's on the list.
They have passenger manifests. They know who these people are. They have people on the ground at that island that have spoken, that have done media interviews. This is not a inscrutable caper. That's the point. This is a situation that has to be one of mostly willful blindness. Anyway.
Coming, and then I'm going to the jewels. Coming up on
on Chicago's Morning Answer, yeah.
I almost said Channel 5.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Wow.
Having a moment.
Woo.
All right, we'll bring you along, Mrs. 10%. Donald Trump authoritarian by proposing that vengeance shall be his when it comes to indicting political opponents. 538.
And Megan Rapinoe says God injured her. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
At 5:33, it's 43 degrees in Chicago. Former British Prime Minister David Cameron has made a shocking return to high office this morning, appointed Foreign Secretary today in a major shakeup of conservative government there that also saw the firing of Home Secretary Suella Braverman. She was a figure popular with the anti-immigration wing of the governing Conservative Party. She drew anger recently, accusing police of being far too lenient with pro-Palestinian protesters. Rescuers are digging through tons of dirt and rock, parts of a collapsed road tunnel, to try and reach 40 workers trapped by a landslide in northern India. Right now, authorities say they have enough oxygen and enough water. The U.S. has struck militants in Syria again, the latest response to a series of attacks on U.S. troops in the Middle East. Fox's Jonathan Savage has more. We'll get more from Jonathan Savage in just a moment. Meantime, Republican presidential candidate Tim Scott says he's ending his 2024 bid for president in a move that surprised his campaign staff and donors. South Carolina senator made the announcement on Fox News Channel's Sunday Night in America. Nikki Haley's presidential campaign will reserve $10 million in advertising across Iowa and New Hampshire starting in December. It's a major investment designed to give the former UN ambassador leverage and maybe an advantage over Florida Governor Ron DeSantis at a critical moment with Iowa's first caucuses on January 15. A child is dead in the Houston suburb of Pearland after gunfire broke out at a flea market. The condition of 4 other victims is unknown. Long-haul carrier Emirates says it will buy Boeing Company aircraft. It's a $52 billion deal announced this morning. Chicago sports found DeMar DeRozan dropping in 29 in the Bulls win over the Pistons 119-108. Blackhawks gave up a third period goal in a 4-3 loss to Florida. Hawks host Tampa Bay on Thursday, and the Bears getting set for a week of preparation against as they get ready to face the 7-2 Detroit Lions. The news is a service of the AM 560 store. T-shirts, hoodies, and more from your favorite AM 560 brands, including Proft University. A check of traffic and weather is on the way next on AM 560.
November 2nd, 2020, marked the 100th anniversary of the first commercial radio broadcast. We're still here, and we're bigger and better than ever. You can still listen to us over this great radio station, but now there are no limitations. Your smartphone is now your smart radio. Listen to us online on the app, TuneIn.com, iHeartRadio, and Odyssey.com. Your smart speaker can find us too. With radio, there is no separation anxiety. We're always on. AM 560, The Answer. You're smart, you're busy, and don't have time to waste on the mainstream media cycle. Salem News Channel breaks that cycle. Topics that matter from hosts worth watching. Dinesh D'Souza, Andrew Wilkow, Brandon Tatum, and more. Open debate and free speech you won't find anywhere else. Salem News Channel, not like the other guys. Watch anytime on any screen, free 24/7. Find everything you need to know at snc.tv. That's snc.tv.
Hi, I'm Randy Donnelly.
And I'm Susan from Donnelly Auctions in Union, Illinois.
We're the hosts of the Donnelly Auctions Hour every Saturday at 1 p.m. here on AM 560.
There is no show like it in the Chicagoland area.
We talk about antiques of all kinds.
And we can help you sell your antiques.
We have great items and the buyers for every collection.
To find out more, go to DonnellyAuctions.com and listen Saturdays at 1 p.m. for the Donnelly Auctions Hour, right here on AM 560, The Answer.
Gillette Intimate gives guys a gentle and easy shave. Don't treat yourself like junk. Respect it with Gillette Intimate, the best a man can get. Buy now at a retailer near you.
5:38. Let's get an update on the roads. AM 560 Traffic Center is the service of Team Hochberg. Right now, Edens, Kennedy, Ike, and Stevenson are on time this morning. Stevenson at 25 minutes from 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Tap of the brakes inbound starting at Cicero. Seeing some brake lights on the inbound Bishop 4 between 111th and the Dan Ryan merge this morning. And scheduled railroad crossing work beginning in Palatine, Hicks Row, north and southbound between Helen and Northwest Highway should be in place for the next couple of days. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Mild with plenty of sun for the next 3 days. 63 today, 65 tomorrow, and high near 66 on Wednesday. Currently 43 at O'Hare. And your next news update is at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
This hourly segment is sponsored by Bettenhausen Mobility, an authorized Braun Ability dealer. Showroom open at BettenhausenMobility.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So this interview that Trump gave to Univision, in which he was sort of waxing philosophic about the weaponization and politicization of the Department of Justice, about the criminalization of politics, about indicting your political opponent, as the left has done up and down the Eastern Seaboard, as everyone knows. And on that topic, he had this to say, which sent the D.C. press corps into hysterics, as you can understand. Well, not understand, but anticipate.
They've done indictments in order to win an election. They call it weaponization. And the people aren't going to stand for it. But yeah, they have done something that allows the next party. I mean, if I happen to be president and I see somebody who's doing well and beating me very badly, I say, go down and indict them. Mostly that would be, they would be out of business. They'd be out. They'd be out of the election.
Go down and indict them. If I win and I see somebody beating me, then I just tell the goon squad with Juris Doctorate degrees over at Department of Justice to go take them out legally, go prosecute them, go, Lavrente Beria them. I'm showing you the man, go find the crime. Well, of course, the hue and cry of authoritarianism and accusations of the rhetoric of a dictator and so on and so forth came hastily, including from Obama's favorite Republican, New York Times columnist David Brooks on PBS.
The word for it is authoritarianism, indicting your political opponent. And I do think there's another Republican or Trumpy plan, which would, right now in the federal government, there are 4,000 political appointees who the president appoints and thousands of civil servants. And there's a plan afoot to gut as many as 50,000 of the civil servants and replace them with partisan political people.
That's Schedule F.
Yeah, Schedule F. And that would decimate our civil service, but it would also lead to, apparently, the complete politicization of the Justice Department. And so it's not just idle talk by Trump. There's actually plans afoot, as Jonathan said, to put this into effect, and that is truly scary.
Are you truly scared? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. Are you truly scared about the politicization of federal civil service employees, including at the Department of Justice? David Brooks is. So is the entire D.C. press corps. I'm sure most of you saw one example or another or many of the hand-wringing you normally get with the Trump pronouncement of the sort that you heard. The end of the rule of law.
The end of democracy, Jen Psaki said.
Well, he's a threat to our democracy. We know that. That would represent
he always
the
has
end
been,
of it.
but this they're trying to elevate it a little more.
Yeah.
Trying to scare us just a bit more. I'm not scared at all. Are you scared? 312-642-5600. Turnkey.pro answer line, or you could reach us on our text line all morning long at 64636. Type in DA, then a quick comment.
Well, two things. One, I would have said it differently, but let me first do my Trump to English translation, because this is what you have to do in these instances. When he's describing what he would, quote, allegedly do if he were the president and trailing badly, scramble the Department of Justice to indict his political opponent. What he's doing there is describing what happened to him for the purpose of illustration. And say, what would, I mean, and then this comes to the better part, the better phrasing of this. I would have encouraged him to say, what would be the reaction if I was leading in the polls? If somebody else was leading me in the polls, I'm the incumbent president, and I say, go find some way to indict this guy to sideline his presidential ambitions, because that's what's happening to me. That's the way I would have put it. And then I would have added, look, it's something you hear me say a lot. We're not them. We could be them. They couldn't be us. We guard that difference jealously. So I'm not going to do what they have done because it's wrong and it's unconstitutional and it represents a threat to our representative Republican form of government. But understand that what I'm describing that I won't do, and just illustrating how people would react if the roles were reversed, they are actually doing. And so for all of the David Brookses, oh my gosh, the politicization of the federal bureaucracy, right? A little past post, David. Are you serious? I'm not saying because it exists that you scale it, but let's stop with this babe in the woods routine. Oh my God. Politics in the federal bureaucracy? Heavens. Gambling in the casino? Perish the thought.
Jen Psaki was saying he's going to unravel the rule of law as we know it.
Jim in LaGrange, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, good morning, Dan, Amy. I would be truly afraid if Trump didn't do that. And by the way, I'm not talking about just draining the swamp. I'm talking about taking a bulldozer and filling it in permanently. You got to get back to even ground somewhere.
If he didn't do what specifically?
If he didn't take an axe and get rid of all the bureaucrats and start from a level playing field again.
All right, thanks for
the
call.
FBI, Jim. DOJ. He gave Hillary a pass. Don't forget that when he got into office, he didn't, target his political opponent or his political rival, which he could have done, and he should have done, because she got away with it.
Frank in Arlington Heights.
Hey, good morning. Yeah, it's called a spoils system, and that's what Andrew Jackson brought in the 1830s, 1829, 1830 through 1837. And he only did it to something like 15-20% of the federal bureaucracy back then. He didn't do it to everybody. But, back then you used to have your political appointees, and that went back and forth until 1883 with the Pendleton Act when they changed it. And so you had this permanent bureaucracy. And that's about when the progressives started to, stir in the 1890s. And they realized they could take over the government permanently with their bureaucrats and their fourth branch of government unelectable. So maybe we need to go back to something like the spoils system, because we don't get any benefit, it seems, in terms of the permanent government when we do elect a Republican president. We get all the negatives when the Democrats win, when the progressives win. So let's bring back the spoils system. I think it'd be great.
Thanks for the call, Frank. I would also hasten to add that I'd rather hear Trump say, rather than I'm going to replace another percentage of the federal civil service with political appointees, I'm gonna riff half of the federal workforce. I mean, I'm just using half. I'd want to be a little bit more surgical than that to come up with a rational number by looking at it agency by agency. But I'm in the business of reducing headcount, like actually Ramaswamy has said, reducing headcount. I want to reduce one of the ways that you drain the swamp is just reduce the number of inhabitants. And this is something that we don't talk enough about. Forget just sort of switching in our hacks for their hacks. Let's reduce the number of hack positions available. And by the way, a little later in the show, I'll give you an example of what we're talking about, why this is so necessary. We celebrated a birthday recently, and it wasn't just Amy Jacobson's. The Endangered Species Act recently turned 50 years old. Wow. What that has done over the last 50 years for all of the, tree hugging, well, for all the tree hugging, dirt munching druids out there that, care about animals to the exclusion of humans. So what has that actually done for the animals? Anyway, we'll get to that a little bit later. Just a little preview. Tom, Blue Island.
Hey, good morning, Dan and Amy. Dan, I've asked a question very similar to this of you before with different people, and it is David Brooks, is it flat sophistry, Dan, or is he supposedly a Republican really this blind to make a statement that ostensibly says that the bureaucracy is not all Democratic? 95% of D.C. votes for Democrats, and Trump is going to be the authoritarian? That question drives me nuts, Dan, every time I hear it.
Thanks for the call. It would be a fun follow-up to that statement by Brooks, in addition to properly ridiculing him for pretending that we have some sort of apolitical professional civil service now that's insulated from politics. And forget at the Department of Agriculture, how about where it really counts, like in the law enforcement and spycraft agencies. David, do you think there is a deep state?
That'd be good.
What when you hear that phrase, what does that connote to you? Speaking of the people that we most need to be apolitical because they wield the most power, law enforcement agencies, IRS, national security related agencies. In fact, I had this conversation just recently for a forthcoming podcast, for my forthcoming episode of my Counterculture podcast with John Cass's brother, Nicholas Cass. You'll be very interested to hear his answer, a guy who served in CIA, NSC, White House, State Department, for years as a top official at the U.S. Embassy in Turkey. He'd been in the milieu for 3 decades. Be very interested to hear what Nicholas Cass has to say to that same question, I think. And it would be even more interesting to get somebody who was on the inside for 30 years like Cass to sit at the same table with David Brooks and hear their competing answers. All this hand-wringing and pearl-clutching about quote-unquote authoritarianism. It's just their usual knee-jerk silliness to cover, of course, what they're actually afoot conducting. Bob in Buffalo Grove, who was at the Freedom Summit over the weekend.
It's great to see you guys, Dan and Amy.
Did you
Also,
see?
your
Bob, did you see Amy resplendent in her
The lady in white.
Princess of Monaco meets Tulsi Gabbard white pantsuit? There's the same suit that Patty Blagojevich wore to Rod's sentencing.
It's the winter white. Yes.
Yeah, you got to post some pictures.
It's like right out of Game of Thrones.
Mm-hmm.
Or on Twitter. You had a great event. I'm not scared, but we ought to find out or put it together a list of people that need to be scared. Paul, Rand Paul didn't kind of. He addressed it at the Freedom Summit when he said, we got to put Fauci in jail. And he outlined all the things that Fauci did that were illegal, corrupt, you name it.
Yeah, bottom line is follow the money.
So we got to put a list together. Who should be scared? And Amy, you addressed it. Trump gave Hillary a pass. Mm-hmm. This time he's got to go for it.
Thanks for the call,
Have
Bob.
a great day and enjoyed seeing you.
Thanks, Bob.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
You've heard me talk about my love of coffee over and over again. I'm here to tell you I have discovered one of the best brews I've ever tasted and a company that I cannot wait to support. I'm here to tell you about Bone Frog Coffee. The Bone Frog is a sacred symbol in the SEAL teams. It honors those that gave the ultimate sacrifice, their lives. Bone Frog was founded by Tim Crook Shank, a former Navy SEAL and 25-year Navy veteran. Bone Frog honors the fallen, those who gave everything for our freedoms and our American way of life, by giving 10% of all the proceeds to benefit many of the U.S. Navy SEAL foundations. Here's what I need you to do. Go to bonefrogcoffee.com/liberty. Get 10% off your first order. You will also get 15% off Bone Frog Coffee subscriptions. Just enter Liberty at checkout. Go to bonefrogcoffee.com/liberty. That's bonefrogcoffee.com/liberty. Taste one of the best brews you ever tasted. 10% of the proceeds go to benefit the Navy SEALs. You'll feel good. It's an American company. Go to bonefrogcoffee.com/liberty. It's hard to believe, but 2024 will be here soon. Before you get caught up in all the busy holiday season shopping and whatnot, ask yourself, what are you doing now to put your retirement in a better position for the future? Sean Thompson here for my friend Tom Fortino of Alpha Wealth Group. Tom has prepared a 2023 year-end planning report. This report will show you ways to reduce your tax burden on your retirement savings, income strategies that don't depend on a volatile market, and ideas on how to protect and pass down assets to your loved ones. Tom has been helping build financial plans for retirements for over 2 decades, and he's sharing his knowledge and experience in this report. Call Tom today at 630-934-1855 and ask for the 2023 year-end planning report. That's 630-934-1855 or visit alphawealthgroup.com. And listen to the Alpha Wealth Hour right here on AM 560 The Answer, Saturday mornings at 9 a.m.
Advisory services through Retirement Wealth Advisors, LLC, and SEC Registered Investment Advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Alpha Wealth Group, licensed in Illinois.
Eating balance of nature, fruits and veggies, is not replacing the fruits and vegetables in your diet. It is fruits and vegetables in your diet. Ask yourself, how many servings of fruits and vegetables have I eaten today? Have you eaten 1, 2, 3, and from how many varieties? Most people are less than 3. Our body is an amazing chemical laboratory, and when you give it the right chemistry, it functions the best. Balance of Nature is 31 different fruits and vegetables prepared in a way to give you the ultimate whole fruit and vegetable chemistry. Let Balance of Nature help you supplement your fruit and vegetable intake for a lot less money and a lot less work and a much higher quality of life.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
It happens every year. Winter.
Delivering and receiving supplies and getting people where they need to go can be impossible. Keeping your business doors and gates working properly to keep out the extreme weather is a major concern. Your business can't afford a loss of income or productivity. Think ahead this winter and call Industrial Door Company of Chicago, Inc. for your commercial door maintenance and security tune-up now. You can't always plan when your doors break down, and it always seems to come at the least convenient time. Industrial Door Company will ensure your doors, grills, gates, and dock equipment are working to specification and give you advice on how to increase the life of your doors. Go online to see a range of products and services at industrialdoor.com. Call anytime, 847-258-5620. Their team will be there before the extreme cold weather causes financial losses for your company and assist in your time of need. Since 1982, the Industrial Door Company of Chicago, Inc. takes care of your doors so you can take care of business.
I'm Dave Nissen, CEO of PKF Mueller. As a CPA firm, we have been serving our business clients since 1968 by providing audit, accounting, tax, advisory, and consulting services. We as trusted advisors go beyond what our clients hired us to do by thinking outside the box to understand their operations and industry. We want to discover ways to increase their net income and cash flow by reducing costs or increasing efficiencies. To this end, PKF Mueller provides several client value-added services through strategic relationships. Our partners are specialists and serve the same type of clients that we do and add value by reducing our clients' overall electric and gas costs, discovering inaccuracies and overcharges on utility bills, assisting in financing of real estate, and helping to reduce uncollectible accounts and bad debt expenses. To learn more about our value-added service providers and how we can assist, call me directly at 630-524-5274 or dnissen@pkfmueller.com.
Hey, business owners, are you wondering how to grow your business? Do you need cash flow and a ready source for financing? Well, Signature Bank can help. Hi, Mike Gallagher here to let you know that Signature Bank's loan decisions are made locally by a team who knows your name, cares about your business, and is invested in your success. When you need advice about your business or even have a question, Signature Bank is there to help. There are no handoffs or call centers. This is a team that wants to get to know you and your business. That's why Signature Bank in Chicago is my bank. That's right. I'm a customer. When I call, someone picks up the phone on the other end. And with Signature Bank, I can securely bank anywhere, anytime. Reach out to my friends at Signature Bank. Call 773-467-5630. That's 773-467-5630, or visit them online at signaturebank.bank. Signaturebank.bank. Your business could be Signature Bank's next success story. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Is it a bit early to be fighting with Israel over what governance in Gaza looks like post the war? We'll start there with Caroline Glick from the formerly of the Jerusalem Post, now senior contributing editor at Jewish News Syndicate 606.
And a 17-year-old Las Vegas high schooler brutally beaten to death defending his friend, and no one's in custody. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
A man charged in a Southside armed robbery leading police on a high-speed chase. WIND Chicago News Time is 6 o'clock.
Worry for the hostages. CJ Papa, Fox News. There is no end in sight to the war between Israel and Hamas, with airstrikes ramping up overnight. But there is plenty of concern for about 240 people kidnapped by Hamas. Fox's Alex Hogan in northern Israel.
The pressure is building here in Israel from the families of the hostages, calling on the government to find them. The U.S. State Department says that the U.S. and Qatar are holding more talks to secure the release of those hostages. Meanwhile, for civilians in Gaza, the health system there is crumbling. Two of the largest hospitals in Gaza stopped taking new patients today because of the overcrowding, the lack of fuel, and the fighting outside of those facilities. And the largest hospital, Al-Shifa, the health ministry there, which is run by Hamas, says that there are 1,500 patients, the same number of medical staff, and as many as 20,000 people seeking shelter.
Israel says it offered fuel to the hospital. The Palestinians rejected that offer. More airstrikes and there's military against Iranian proxies in Syria. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, who is in Seoul, South Korea today confirms the attacks with the president's response to repeated strikes against U.S. personnel in Iraq and Syria. Fox's Lucas Tomlinson reporting from Wilmington, Delaware.
We've received some reporting from our own Jennifer Griffin, who says that training facility is really a headquarters, and the strikes killed 6 or 7 Iranian proxy fighters, and that the safe house was really a headquarters, killing those fighters in the training facility, stored a bunch of weapons, a lot of secondary explosives, and an official told Jennifer Griffin that this strike will hurt.
A long-haul carrier Emirates says it will buy Boeing aircraft in a deal worth $52 billion. Emirates CEO and chairman delivering the news earlier today to Dubai Air Show. Boeing said it was delighted by the order. Its sister carrier, low-cost carrier Fly Dubai, says it will buy 30 Boeing 787-9 Dreamliners, the first wide-body aircraft in its fleet. America's listening to Fox News.
.43 degrees at 6:02 on AM 560, The Answer, and good morning. I'm Mike Scott. 2 men were shot, one fatally, in a shooting early Sunday in the Little Village neighborhood. Officers found the 2 victims in the 3000 block of South Trumbull Avenue. Around 3:50 a.m., the 22-year-old man was shot in the head, transported to Mount Sinai Hospital, where he later died. Marnie Yang, convicted in 2011, killing the longtime girlfriend of Bears player Sean Gale, looking to request a new trial. This case has made headlines for well over a decade. She's due in court today in Lake County for a judge to hear that request. Yang was convicted in 2011 of killing Ronnie Reuter and her unborn child. Reuter was the longtime girlfriend of Sean Gale. A man is charged with armed robbery at a Southside business and then leading police on a high-speed chase. Norbert Thigpen entered that business in the 8600 block of South Cicero Saturday, demanded money, got cash from a register, and then shot into the ceiling and fled. State troopers tried to pull him over, but he fled, leading them on a chase all the way along the tri-state into Wisconsin and then finally back into Illinois, where Thigpen was stopped near Gurnee and arrested. The family of a man who was killed trying to stop a car theft last month on Chicago's west side is calling on police to speed up the investigation. A march was held yesterday in honor of Salvador Herrera, who was gunned down October 15. An award-winning Chicago seafood restaurant is closed following repeated failed health inspections. The Department of Public Health has ordered the closure of Calumet Fisheries after health inspectors found evidence of mice and rat droppings, and the eatery was also cited for minor facility issues like leaky faucets and a few damaged floor tiles. Chicago sports, DeMar DeRozan dropped in 29 Bulls over the Pistons, 119-108. Blackhawks gave up a third-period goal in a 4-3 loss to the Florida Panthers. Connor Bedard lit the lamp in the Blackhawks' loss. The Bears will spend the week preparing for their first of 2 games this month against the 7-2 Lions. Chicago visits Detroit on Sunday. The News is a service of Salem Surround, a local digital marketing agency providing high-performing digital solutions to surround your target audience. A check of traffic and weather is on the way next on AM 560.
This radio station is always on, but sometimes you need more content that you can take with you anywhere. That's why we invented the SalemPodcastNetwork.com. You'll find all the great hosts on this radio station, plus a few more, like Charlie Kirk, Dinesh D'Souza, Trish Regan, Jenna Ellis, and Dennis and Julie. There's literally no end to what we can teach you. It's like radio on demand, and just like radio, it's always on. Go find out what you're missing. Download the app, SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
With the holidays upon us, the increase in traveling, shopping, and connecting online also heightens the need to protect your identity and finances with LifeLock. Identity thieves see this time of year as an opportunity to drain your accounts, open new loans in your name, and damage your financial future. LifeLock detects and alerts you to the threats you might miss on your own. Don't let the busy holiday season catch you off guard. Save up to 25% off your first year with promo code CLAY. LifeLock.com, promo code CLAY.
More than 38,000 U.S. veterans are experiencing homelessness across our nation. Through its Homeless Veteran Program, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation is providing housing assistance and services to U.S. veterans in need. Over 500 veterans helped last year, more than 2,000 to receive help this year. If you or someone you know is a veteran who is homeless or at risk of homelessness, complete the inquiry form at t2t.org or donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at t2t.org.
A great smile can make you feel happy and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, Doctors Economos, Gavalis, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidisciplined practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technology, such as titanium implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4930. That's 630-830-4930. Or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
AM 560 news time is 6:07. Let's get an update on the roads now. In the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, Edens, 21 minutes, Lake Cook Road to the junction. Kennedy returning back to normal, 34 minutes, O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Brake lights right now at Nagel. Inbound on the Ike, an accident, 2 right lanes blocked between Cicero and Sacramento. It's really stacked up already, 75 minutes and growing from 390 into the old post office. Again, that big delay, Cicero to Sacramento with the accident. Stevenson stop and go brake lights already. Inbound Harlem to Kedzie. Bishop Ford stop and go. Inbound 111 into the Ryan merge. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Sunshine, looks like a mild day, high 63, clear tonight, low 37, and then sunny, warm day tomorrow, the high at 65. Plenty of sunshine, nice day on Wednesday, high Wednesday afternoon, 66. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
43 at O'Hare, 40 at Midway, and 32 now in Aurora. Your next news update is at 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. I think we need to again restate what we're talking about with respect to the war in Israel to eradicate Hamas. Amid all the protests and all the punditry, which over the weekend was in large measure dominated by a discussion of what should or should not come after this war in terms of governance of Gaza. Can we just restate what we're talking about here? To help us, Dr. Kanta Ahmed, who's a physician who specializes in sleep disorders and a senior fellow at the Independent Women's Forum. Why would she be relevant here? Well, because as she wrote over the weekend in the Wall Street Journal, I arrived on October 19th to spend 19 days as a human rights observer with the permission of the nation's Foreign Affairs Ministry and help from an IDF officer. As an observant Muslim, I felt a duty to come and bear witness. What I saw will remain with me forever. One word continually came to mind as she toured the morgues and hospitals, neonatal units, examined bodies and ashes, incinerated teeth and bones, toddlers, teens and adults, young and old, many of them bound, tortured, burned alive. One word continually came to mind, she writes: genocide. No matter how it emerges, the monster is easy to recognize. As a doctor, I had a rare and panoramic view of the aftermath, the targeted people's long, agonizing journey to death. It's not the first time I've seen Islamist jihadism or even Islamist genocide. I've been to northwest Pakistan and met child Taliban operatives groomed for suicide missions. I still attend to 9/11 first responders in New York. I've been to post-ISIS Iraq to meet with Kurdish and Yazidi survivors of genocide. I've spoken with former ISIS child soldiers and the Peshmerga veterans of the brutal and bloody 3-year war. The October 7th genocide was different, more barbaric than anything before it. The attacks were cloaked in the language and metaphors of Islam, yet corrupted with a cosmic enmity for the Jewish people, Judaism, global Jewry, and the Jewish state. They revealed again that Islamism is a virulent impostor of Islam with intentions anathema to the faith. And there was no doubt of Islamism's guilt. I saw real-time footage generated by the Hamas commandos' own cameras. I heard phone calls exclaiming the Islamic Declaration of Faith as they murdered, executed, burned, pillaged, and then broadcast their crimes. In conclusion, she writes, Islam, the West, and the Muslim world must respond with the necessary moral clarity. Define the October 7th attacks as genocide. Legally designating the horrors as such ought to become a priority independent of the war against Hamas, because the attacks need to be documented and prosecuted as crimes against humanity. Doing so is a matter of Jewish survival. The world has been silent in the face of Jewish genocide before. When we now say never again, we must mean it. So that needs to be entered into the evidence against the backdrop of all of these protestations that are going on in major Western cities. Of course, the ignorance that abounds on college campuses and the equivocations that come from so many political leaders, mainly on the left, but in the form of the icons of the left, like we discussed last week with Barack Obama's "everybody comes to the table with unclean hands" rap. For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by Caroline Glick. She's a senior contributing editor at Jewish News Syndicate, host of the Caroline Glick Show on JNS, and columnist for Newsweek. Caroline Glick, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me on your program, Dan and Amy.
What has been, or continues to be, because we've spoken with you before, but what can, with another couple of weeks since the last time we spoke with you, what's your perspective and commentary on the cultural response to the Israeli defense over the last couple of weeks, cultural response in the West?
I'm actually looking aghast at what's happening in the West, what's happening on campuses, what's happening in the streets of cities in the United States and Europe. It shows that what we're facing here is a broad-based, deep annihilationist hatred of Jewish people, of the Jewish people, of the Jewish state, increasing comfort level among people who you would consider to be right-thinking, but they're morally depraved when it comes to the Jews. The comfort level with the notion of genocide, of the Holocaust, of the disappearance of Jews from planet Earth. And that's, to me, I think that's a sort of I don't know, you call it an aftershock of an earthquake that will reverberate for much longer than this earthquake. I mean, we are at war. We're making progress on the ground. And we'll defeat Hamas and perhaps Hezbollah as well, depending on how they behave in the north, and what we think we require in order to enable Jewish life in northern Israel. But I don't know what to think about the state of the West now and of Jews outside of Israel, given what we're looking at.
Well, I mean, the crowds are getting bigger. At London, they had 500,000 people, and I'm sure you saw the London Bridge. They were all over that, and then you had also outside of Biden's Delaware home, and I don't know how they got there. That's not an easy place to get to with 1,000 people. But when do you think that they'll stop protesting? What exactly do you think that they want just in order to stop this? Because it's every weekend now here in Chicago. It's every 2 to 3 times a week.
Right. So I think that what they expect is for the governments of the West to end their support for Israel and support Hamas. I think that's what they want, and Hezbollah, just as they support Hamas and Hezbollah. They're lobbying for genocide, They're rioting, they're terrorizing, they're intimidating, they're bullying for genocide. That's what they want. That's what they're after. That's what they're advocating on behalf of, and that's what they're pushing people to do. And I was very disheartened this morning to hear the news that they seem to be making headway in Britain, where I understand there are a lot of different clashes that have to do more with domestic politics than Jews. But you had the Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, who was the most outspoken critic of these mass rallies on behalf of Hamas and genocide. And she was very outspoken in criticizing these things. She called them hate marches, and stood very strongly with the Jewish community of England and with Israel. And she was just fired this morning by the Prime Minister after she wrote an article, apparently in the Times of London, reinstating her position against the pro-Hamas protesters on the street and criticizing the Metropolitan Police of London for enabling 500,000 people to be calling for the annihilation of Jews on the streets of London any day of the week, but particularly on Remembrance Day, which is Britain's Veterans Day for the veterans of the World Wars.
Well, that's interesting, too, because Rishi Sunak, the prime minister, had initially made a pretty strong statement in support of Israel, and now you want... I'm sorry?
And he came to visit here as well.
Yeah, and now he seems, as you say, to be equivocating, which is not something that we're unfamiliar with, because that description, I think, properly applies to the Biden administration as well, including the former head of this administration, maybe the shadow head of it, Barack Obama, as I mentioned. But the statement that Tony Blinken, our Secretary of State, made last week after his meeting with Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas, where he said that the U.S., quote, remains committed to advancing equal measures of dignity and security for Palestinians and Israelis alike. Now, on the face of it, you would say, well, we're just even-handed, that's sort of like an equal protection of the law type of statement. But do you read anything troubling into that statement?
I think it's very troubling. I think it's very, very troubling what the Secretary of State said. I actually discussed it at length in my podcast last week. If people want to check it out for a deeper discussion, but very briefly, we cannot have a situation where the Palestinians, who has a society both in Judea and Samaria and in Gaza, greeted Hamas's acts of genocide in Israel with utter glee and continue to do so. And the Palestinian Authority, which is allied with and serving as the foreign ministry of Hamas today, and whose members wish to join the jihad against Israel and are expanding their attacks against Israelis in Judea and Samaria, otherwise known as the West Bank. We cannot have these people not feel that they have been defeated. And what Tony Blinken is saying is, no. None of these people, not in Gaza, not anywhere, are going to pay a price of any kind for what happened. We're going to pretend that this isn't a society that's been mobilized to annihilate the Jews for the past 100 years. We're going to pretend this is just a couple thousand mass murderers that really have no public support of any kind. And we're going to say that Israel has to reward their society for spawning these monsters in its midst and all supporting them. I mean, there is absolutely no doubt that Hamas is the most powerful force in Palestinian society here and all over the world. They are the unquestioned leaders of these people by everybody concerned. And yet here is the Biden administration saying, nope, not true. We're not going to look at it. And you have to reward them. You have to give them your land. You have to give them land that you have sovereign rights to. You have to give them half your capital city, for crying out loud. Give them a state. Give them equal measure of dignity and freedom as you have, even though they've used everything that we've given them for the past 100 years to wage war against us. So the answer is absolutely not.
Well, and this goes to what I started the segment mentioning, which is this back and forth between Biden administration flacks like Jake from State Department, who is, as I've said before, he is a diplomat in the same way that Jake from State Farm is an actual insurance broker. But Jake from State Department, Blinken, others, absolutely, there's not going to be we don't support Israeli occupation of Gaza after the war and so on and so forth. I mean, all this stuff sounds very premature, but why we get into a public spat with a rather innocuous statement, in my view, from Prime Minister Netanyahu, which is, look, after the war, Israel is going to have military control of this until we can figure out what governance looks like that won't allow for another terrorist attack or ongoing open-ended terrorist attacks emanating from Gaza to occur. So I don't know exactly what that looks like now, but we're certainly not going to do all of this and then allow the Gaza Strip to be backfilled by the next generation of terrorists, which seems a reasonable position. So why the need to provide these clarifications and go back and forth between United States foreign diplomatic officials and the Israeli PM? I just don't see how that's productive.
I think that there are two reasons for it. One is ideological. You have a lot of very hardened anti-Israel ideologues who are in key positions in the administration. First and foremost, Hadi Yamar, who is the special representative to the Palestinians, and he has very long list of ties to Hamas from the time that he was in Doha. The Hamas is a state sponsor in Qatar during the Trump administration, and he wrote a policy paper at the Brookings Institute in Doha calling for the United States essentially to recognize Hamas as a legitimate entity and to change the terror laws to enable USAID to fund NGOs that were going to be working with Hamas and other things. So he has his sympathies, and so does Meir Bitar, who is the Director of Intelligence in the National Security Council, and others. And finally, there's the issue of politics. We're going into an election year. The presidential election is just a year away, and while the vast majority of Americans stand with Israel, all of the Americans, or almost a very large majority of the Americans who stand with Hamas are voters for Biden, and so there's an electoral calculus that they're making, that they have to keep these Hamas supporters on the left, and in places like Michigan, where you have a very large and radical Muslim community on board. So I think it's both of those things.
Can you just clarify for us, because Rashida Tlaib, after she was censured last week, said from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. And we've heard this, by the way, locally in Chicagoland, too, from some of these people. Yeah. They're now spinning this as, what that phrase means is not the annihilation of the Jewish people. It means peaceful coexistence. Is there any basis to support that claim?
Well, there's a good book that came out a couple of years ago called Everyone Loves Dead Jews by Dara Horn. She's a fantastic novelist out of New York. And I think that the title tells it all, because if there isn't a Jewish state and there is a Palestine that goes across Israel on the embers of the Jewish state of Israel, then the Jews that are going to be coexisting peacefully with the people who've just annihilated our country and the largest Jewish community on planet Earth are going to be loving the Jews that are dead, because that's what they want.
Caroline Glick, senior contributing editor at Jewish News Syndicate, host of the Caroline Glick Show on JNS, and a columnist for Newsweek as well. Caroline, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me on your program. Have a good day.
Thank you. And she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Connect with Dan and Amy on the AM 560 The Answer mobile app. Just text the word app to 64636 to download the app today.
What if you could build a six-figure retirement income with almost half the money saved? You heard that right. Get a discount on your retirement, creating a six-figure income with 40% less than traditional 401ks and mutual funds. Hi, I'm Mitch Lyons, best-selling author and executive producer of a new Hollywood documentary called The Baby Boomer Dilemma. In this film, economists and Nobel Prize-winning PhDs share a strange concept I call the retirement discount. It gives you more retirement income with the same dollar saved, and your money is never at risk if the market crashes. That's right. If the market crashes 30%, you lose nothing. Even people who are on track have shifted money to this new strategy because it increases their retirement income or can allow them to stop working years sooner. So if you are over 50 and want a bigger, better retirement with less money, call to get a free copy of this brand new movie, 1-800-578-3535. This is a $30 value, but when you call today, you get it completely free, plus 2 hours of bonus behind-the-scenes footage. No credit card required. Call right now. 1-800-578-3535. That's 1-800-578-3535. Again, 1-800-578-3535.
All right. Can't wait to do it. Take Balance of Nature. Why? Well, did not get a lot of fruits and vegetables this weekend. And when you give your body the best possible fuel, all natural fruits and vegetables, you have more energy, you're stronger, you're faster on your feet. 31 whole fruits and vegetables in Balance of Nature capsules. I crack 3 red ones, 3 green ones open into warm water, and voila. I crave it. I love it. Give the nutrition your body needs. Give them Balance of Nature. Give it. 800-246-8751. 800-246-8751. That is the number to call. Use discount code Chicago. First timers get free shipping and 35% off. Give it a try. Some people notice a difference right away. Some it takes a few weeks, but 99.9% of the people I talk to love Balance of Nature. Or order your bottles of fruits and veggies online at balanceofnature.com. Be sure to use discount code Chicago.
Right now is a really good time to get your student loans under control. There are so many people that we talk to every day who tell us that they just feel so much anxiety and overwhelmed by their student loans. But once they pick up that phone and call us and we're able to give them a plan and a strategy that may lower their payment by hundreds of dollars, sometimes thousands of dollars, and may actually get their loans forgiven. The point is just to give people some clarity and control over their situation so that they know that whatever the payment is, whatever the plan is, there actually is a plan, and that plan is going to save them the most amount of money. I'm Ray Kaplan, and I can help you get debt-free, stress-free. Give us a call at 312-294-8989 or visit us at financialrelief.com.
Hi, I'm Martha Stewart. Every year, more than 4 million pets enter shelters here in the United States. My friends at American Humane have been helping animals since 1877. The goal is to ensure that pets have a safe shelter, especially during natural disasters. Adopting a shelter pet allows shelters to help more animals awaiting care. Please consider adopting today and take some time to learn more about American Humane's other work at americanhumane.org.
Do you have a home remodeling project you'd love to get done? This is your opportunity to lock in this year's pricing with Chicago's Design Build Dream Team. Forever Remodeling is now offering exceptional savings. Simply sign on by December 31st to avoid any price increases next year. At Forever Remodeling, their expert designers and installers will turn your dreams into reality. Act now and you'll not only protect yourself from future price increases, but also beat the rush and secure a preferred spot in their schedule. Call 847-809-3355 or visit foreverremodeling.com. Highly skilled to design and build.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 6:36, we feel since Governor Jelly Belly aims to make a bunch of law-abiding gun owners in Illinois criminals overnight with his semi-auto rifle ban, we feel we should update you about the litigation, some of which has been adjudicated, including at the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals level, some of which is still pending against the backdrop of a January 1, 2024 deadline to register said weapons if you want to keep them. So Illinois 2A rights at 6:36.
I wonder what confiscation would look like, too. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
6:31, we have 43 degrees this morning. The UN says one of its facilities in Gaza was damaged in an Israeli naval strike Sunday. Donald Trump Jr. set to return to court as the first defense witness in the Trump Organization's civil fraud trial in New York. The Trump family organization being accused of inflating their wealth to obtain better loans. House Speaker Mike Johnson is putting forward a two-step temporary funding plan to avoid a government shutdown as a Friday deadline draws near. The first part of that plan would extend funding until January 19, but only for a select handful of departments. Rescuers are digging through rock and dirt, parts of a collapsed tunnel road, trying to reach 40 workers trapped by a landslide in northern India. Authorities on scene say the workers have been supplied with oxygen and water. 2 men were shot, one fatally, in a shooting early Sunday in the Little Village neighborhood, according to Chicago police. Officers found the 2 victims in the 3000 block of South Trumbull around 3:50 a.m. One was rushed to Mount Sinai Hospital, where he later died. Marnie Yang, convicted in 2011 of killing the longtime girlfriend of Chicago Bears player Sean Gale, is looking to request a new trial. She's due in court today. Yang was convicted in 2011 of killing Ronnie Reuter and her unborn child. On the north side, Lincoln Park area, we'll call it the Wrightwood neighborhood, Fullerton Parkway this morning is shut down, both east and westbound between Sheffield and Lincoln, due to a structure fire and a major EMS Plan 1 response in that neighborhood. Our time is 6:33, and a check of traffic and weather coming up next on AM 560.
Would you like to have your mortgage or rent paid for all of 2024? Yeah, that sounds like a Christmas miracle, doesn't it? Well, that's exactly what AM 560, The Answer, wants to do for you. Go to 560theanswer.com/miracle to enter our Christmas Mortgage Miracle Contest. Enter once per day, every day, between now and December 20th, and you can have your rent or mortgage paid for all of next year. Go to 560theanswer.com/miracle.
Are you a driver of a Ford PowerStroke diesel engine? Tired of taking your Ford PowerStroke diesel in to be misdiagnosed or paying for repairs that don't fix the problem? Well, bring your vehicle to the diesel headquarters, Remke's Garage. The shop is equipped with state-of-the-art diagnostic equipment and highly trained technicians. Take it to the experts. Take it to Remke's Garage. Remke's Garage specializes in Ford PowerStroke, Chevy Duramax, Dodge Cummins, Mercedes Sprinter, and Isuzu diesel engines and transmission repairs. At Remke's, they'll make your vehicle repairs convenient by offering a free commercial loaner vehicle.
Remke's Garage, where you won't spend $1,000 to fix a $100 problem. Call for details and to schedule an appointment at 800-5-REMKES or visit Remke'sGarage.com. Remke's Garage, your diesel headquarters.
Exergen thermometers are a top choice of medical professionals at highly ranked hospitals across the U.S. Accuracy matters, so make Exergen the chosen thermometer for your home and family.
6:35, and the news, a service of Health Insurance Mentors, 65 or older, thinking about Medicare. Medicare done correctly will be the best health insurance you will ever have. Call Stephen Tucker today, 630-674-1551 or healthinsurancementors.com. Again, Northside, Fullerton, east and westbound between Sheffield and Lincoln shut down because of an EMS Plan 1 response to a major structure fire there this morning. Top on the roadways, inbound Edens, 27 minutes. Lake Cook Road into the junction. Kennedy right now is already an hour from O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. the Ike right now due to a much earlier accident and 2 lanes blocked, being pulled out of your way, but still 70 minutes from 390 into the old post office this morning. It really jammed up 17th all the way to Sacramento. Accident on the outbound Ike. 2 left lanes blocked. It's between the Tri-State and North Avenue in Elmhurst. Dan Ryan, 19 minutes 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. Traffic, a service of Indeed.com. Halloween is over, but the hiring is still scary. Indeed's end-to-end solution makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates, sponsor a job, and instantly receive a short list of quality candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Mild with plenty of sunshine today, a high of 63, clear and 37 overnight. 42 right now at O'Hare, 40 at Midway, 30 in Aurora. And your next news update is at 7. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Scott Tucker Solutions and his show Retirement Decoded. Sunday mornings at 8. Learn more at scotttuckersolutions.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Let's talk Second Amendment rights in Illinois. Since Governor Jelly Belly and the supermajority of the General Assembly, all those Democrat socialists that's so popular in Chicagoland suburbs, so popular there in office, have moved to curtail your right to protect yourself, even as they've moved to curtail keeping violent predators behind bars awaiting trial. It's a nice twofer. Jelly Belly was recently honored.
Oh, I saw.
By GPAC Illinois, which is the Gun Prevention Political Action Committee, Gun Violence Prevention Political Action Committee. Board members include, John Schmidt, a former Department of Justice official who famously lost that primary to for Attorney General, State Attorney General Lisa Madigan. Remember that? Yeah, he's on the board. Profile in Courage Award conferred to one Governor Spalding.
We've enshrined the strongest and most effective gun safety legislation in the Midwest, maybe in the nation. The far right would rather offer thoughts and prayers than stand up to the NRA. The NRA has no home in this state. We know how to fight for our families, and we know how to fight for our communities. Together, we modernized the FOID card system. We made Illinois the first state in the Midwest to ban ghost guns. I was pleased to be able to sign the assault weapons, high-capacity magazine, and switches ban in the state of Illinois. Throughout it all, honestly, at every turn, there has been GPAC. None of this could have been done if we didn't stand together, all of us. And most importantly, that we've stood up to the gun lobby. It's been a tremendous honor to accept this award, and I thank you, and thank you all for your continued advocacy.
Exactly, and per that semi-auto rifle ban that was enacted earlier this year, you can already see the impact in terms of the reduction in violent crime. Can you? Anyway, by the way, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals just held a ghost gun ban as unconstitutional, illegal, the ATF lacking the authority to administer that ban on quote-unquote ghost guns. So, but again, I understand the Constitution, our individual rights, the restraints on government. These are just workarounds for Jelly Belly and your supermajority of Democrat socialists, and frankly, a lot of weak-kneed invertebrates in the Republican Party too, at least here. So where does that stand, that semi-auto rifle ban? because it goes into effect January 1, and the handle is this. There's litigation, which we'll get to. The handle is this. If you owned a sport rifle, semi-auto sport rifle, before the legislation was enacted earlier this year, then you can keep it, but you have to register it with the state or you become a criminal.
Now, is there a charge associated with the registration?
And if you bought it after, well, you're in violation. So there was an appellate court decision, the Seventh Circuit handed down a week ago Friday, that in a 2-1 vote, 3-judge panel, upheld the ban on semi-auto sport rifles and high-capacity magazines. And remember, this is all after the horrific July 4th Highland Park shooting, because we just have to do something. Right. Will it be impactful? Will it stop violence, have any impact on violence? We just have to do something. Is it constitutional? Do something.
There are already gun laws on the book that criminals aren't following, but yeah, so, well, they're doing something.
In aspect of its reasoning, the Seventh Circuit, the appellate panel cited the Bruin decision that was handed down by the High Court last year, which established concealed carry outside the home as an individual constitutional right. In that case, the majority at the U.S. Supreme Court level said gun restrictions must be consistent with the nation's historical tradition of firearm regulation to pass muster. That's an important phrase, and it has some applicability here. So those suits, there was an injunction in terms of the implementation. The appeals court decision a week ago Friday threw out the lower court injunction in one set of cases, affirmed decisions keeping the law intact in another batch. However, there's an amended complaint that's been filed by federal firearm licensees of Illinois in Southern Federal District Court that's presided over by Judge Stephen McGlynn that challenges on Second Amendment as well as due process grounds the January 1 implementation. And Washington gun law president William Kirk had a good distillation of this. So since he's been following this a lot more closely than I have, let's bring him in. And, there's a lot of good litigators that are at the service of Second Amendment rights organizations in this country, thank goodness. Washington gun law is one of them. So, again, where we stand now.
In addition to absolutely having the most rotten, sinister, and nefarious state government anywhere in the United States, we also know that the state of Illinois is currently requiring all owners of semi-automatic rifles to have them registered no later than the end of this year. Otherwise, they may confiscate them.
Mm-hmm. And those... the amended complaint, those Second Amendment and due process violations. Take a listen.
Plaintiff's proposed First Amendment complaint specifically contends that the Illinois registration requirement violates both the Second Amendment and the Due Process Clause. There is no historical tradition supporting Illinois' registration requirement, particularly a registration requirement that operates as a narrow exception to a general ban on commonly owned firearms.
Consistent with the nation's historical tradition of firearm regulation, and there's the complaint that uses the Bruin test to assert not consistent.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer line 64636, type in DA, then a quick comment.
And so let's get into a little bit more of the weeds legally because of something that was done, something that wasn't done before it was done by the Illinois State Police in terms of promulgation of rules. This is the due process claim. This is important.
The state of Illinois has chosen not even to play by their own rules. Instead of, even though they had 9 months where they could have adopted these rules and allowed public comment and all that, no, the Illinois State Police waited until literally registration was about to open and then issued an emergency rule. But under Illinois law, that emergency rule can turn into a permanent rule without ever allowing a single resident a comment on the rule itself. Exactly how they passed this assault weapon ban. The plaintiffs wisely point out the registration requirement potentially affects thousands of Illinoisans in life-altering ways. Those who fail to register become criminals overnight. Not allowing the community of firearm owners affected by the law to review proposed regulations and weigh in on them before they became effective is unjustifiable. That is especially so given that emergency rules expire after 150 days, which here takes us beyond the January 1st deadline because the PICA rules were first published in September. The state's emergency rules are thus effectively permanent rules without ever having complied with the permanent rule process. And they also point out that the delay is also equally egregious and the delay is more egregious in light of the fact that the PICA rules largely just restate the statutory provisions without providing any clarity. Why it took so long to simply restate the law is a mystery. And so what you essentially have is you have all these people kind of just waiting on pins and needles saying, hey, what's the rule? What's the rule? I want to see what the rule is to figure out if I can comply and how do I comply. And the state waits and waits and waits. And then 2 weeks before they open the registration, they do so with an emergency rule-making order. And the rules provide no clarity, no guidance whatsoever. It just basically restates what's in the legislation.
312-642-5600, Turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, Turnkey.pro text line. Nothing like operating in bad faith. Nothing like when your state police operate in bad faith, I'm sure at the behest of the political ruling class, but nonetheless. Bob in Oswego, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. Hey, I will never register for this thing. None of my friends are going to do it, but I do have one worry. I have my concealed carry, and let's say I have to protect myself and have to shoot somebody.
Yep.
Well, they're gonna put me in jail right away before they clear me, and the next thing they're gonna do is they will go to my house and go through my weapons, and that kind of scares me because at that point they're gonna go in and find a weapon,
Right. They'll find out what weapon you use, and if you didn't register it like you were supposed to, then they might throw you in jail.
Yeah, but still, I'm going to take my chances. There's no way I'm doing it.
Thanks for the call, Bob. Well, I don't think you're alone. First of all, I don't think there's probably not a lot of people there's probably a lot of people, I should say, that aren't even aware of this.
Right.
Aren't even aware of the January 1 deadline. There's also the issue of people who purchased prohibited guns and magazines during the period where there was an injunction in place. And so can they register when the implementation of the law was enjoined, or do they have to immediately return those items to the state, I guess, or to the store and prove that they did so, and so on and so forth, to the extent they can? I mean, these are some of the unanswered questions, and here we're sitting, 6 weeks away from January 1st.
And I heard Governor Pritzker over the week, defending this again, saying nobody who goes out hunting needs that kind of ammunition.
Yeah,
and I thought, well, you know what, though?
So tired.
What about the families that were in Israel that were attacked by Hamas? I think they needed every single bullet that they had with them. Those who could defend themselves.
Who needs what?
Yeah.
And who decides who needs what?
That's it right there.
The law-abiding versus the criminal. Yeah, I mean, I saw that extended clip on one of the thugs who committed the armed robbery against that Beverly family, too. Maybe if they catch him, they can get him to turn that gun in.
Or at least register,
Yeah. Larry Elmhurst.
Hey, good morning. Hey, I was talking to a Cook County Cook County cop, and he was telling me that the only ones that know you have an AR or a 15 shot is the gun shop that sold it to you and the federal government.
That's
the
right.
other state of Illinois does not know. And just remember, if you get picked up, have an all-white T-shirt on and tell them you don't have a job, there's no bail then.
Okay, thanks for the call, Larry. Well, here's the thing. I mean, the whole point is, right, yes, the gun shops know, the feds know because of the reporting requirements of licensees in Illinois, federal firearm licensees in Illinois. But this is just like when Lisa Madigan was going to, publicly disclose the FOID card list.
Oh, that's right.
The list of FOID card holders. This is all slow walking their way, taking what they can get to gun registry and gun confiscation. And then the question that was posed, and it was posed by Mr. Kirk of Washington Gun Law. Oh, okay. What does confiscation look like? Let's say you get to that point. Are we going to have snitches and state and local police doing raids to arrest people who have a semi-automatic sport rifle that isn't registered? You're going to do massive stings.
I know.
When somehow, some way, the list of people who've purchased a semi-auto sport rifle is bumped up against the list of people who register, because I think it's fewer than 3,000 at this point. There's a lot more than that in the state of Illinois with almost 13 million people, I can guarantee you. You're going to bump that list up against those who registered, and then those who haven't registered, here comes the SEAL Team 6 raid like you're a pro-life activist. Is that what it's going to look like? Or are we going to do one of those gun buyback programs?
That's what I suggested. Get a free, DVD or $50 gift card to Target.
Yeah, that's going to be really persuasive.
Yeah. Or a Visa gift card, yeah.
No, it's more like the Kamala Harris mandatory gun buyback. Yeah. But this is great, by the way. Reason does some good stuff, Reason Magazine.
Uh-huh.
They have this running series called Great Moments and Unintended Consequences, all about the intentions of politicians with their press release politics and their silly, thoughtless legislative measures. And then how it actually works in the real world. Great Moments in Unintended Consequences, the gun buyback program in the city of Oakland.
And now, Great Moments in Unintended Consequences. Part 1, Glock Management. The year, 2008. The problem? Oakland has too many guns. The solution? Offer $250 for every gun turned in to the police. No questions asked. Sounds like a great idea. With the best of intentions, what could possibly go wrong? It turns out a lot of guns aren't worth $250, but they were that day. People drove for hours, even from other states, to sell their old junk that had been collecting dust. Generally not the kind of weapons used to perpetrate a crime. In fact, the first two people in line at one of the buyback locations were gun dealers unloading their worthless stock. The program was estimated to cost $50,000, but the police department quickly ran out of cash and had to issue IOUs totaling roughly $170,000. And it would have been even more expensive, except that Oakland had essentially created an open-air gun market. Some guns were actually bought by prospective buyers walking the line and offering $300 for specialty items. Talk about a misfire.
Oh, that is great.
Yeah. They know everything, these bettors in public office. They've contemplated all the angles. Just press release politics, the same as the ponderous Pritzker practices. That's great alliteration right there. Josh in Braidwood, you're in Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, good morning, Dan and Amy. I listen to you guys every morning, and I just have a question. Maybe it's rhetorical, maybe it's not. Doesn't the Constitution give us God, like all the rights in the Constitution they're given to us by God, not the government. So how can the government even say or limit or do anything when it comes to the Second Amendment? I will never understand why a lawyer can't walk in and say it's a God-given right. They can do what they want. I don't understand it. Maybe you guys can elaborate.
Thanks for the call, Josh. God has no home here, not in Illinois, but and Pritzker's your God, and don't you forget it. But well, the reason is because per Supreme Court jurisprudence, as the Seventh Circuit argued in upholding the laws, there are restrictions that can be imposed. So you can't ban guns outright. You can't ban gun ownership outright. You can't ban the right to carry outright. So the May issue states that's gone too, per the Bruin decision last year. But you can enact restrictions, and this is the left always, poking and prodding to find out what restrictions they can get away with, and there's your governor, your God, leading the charge. Dennis, Evergreen Park.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Thanks for having this topic today. I had this story bubbling inside me for the last 5 weeks. My son's music studio in Pilsen, 19th and Paulina. There was a shooting in front of there. One evening, guys were recording and playing. Shots rang out right in front of their door. Turns out it's gang activity. To shorten the story, well, this is for the Democrats who aren't good at numbers and counting. They figured there were 3 shooters shooting at one guy. He was hit 10 times. 75 shells were counted after the investigation. So if someone has the ability within seconds to throw 75 bullets at you and you cannot protect yourself, where are we?
Thanks for the
Good
call,
point.
Dennis. Kevin, Elk Grove.
Hi.
Hey, Kevin.
I was just recently, re-upped my concealed carry, and I was told by the instructor of the concealed carry class that due to all the gun laws that J.B. Pritzker has put in place, that the funny thing about it is that he is opening right now a 30,000 square foot facility just over the border that will be a gun and gun range store. And then on top of it, he has advertising out for the AR rifle that is, he calls it a beautiful sporting rifle.
I think that's Jennifer Pritzker, not Governor Pritzker, because I saw that facility. It's right on the way to Carthage. It's right over the border there.
Okay, so that's what
Yeah.
Jennifer is his wife?
No, his cousin.
Yeah,
It's
it used to
a
be
it's his cousin.
used to be
She-
Jim. Now
Jim.
it's Jennifer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it's
Oh,
Dan,
I
you
got
should see it. It is an
Thanks for the
amazing
call, Kevin.
facility. Acres of land there, and then the shooting range is in the basement portion of
Well, I mean,
It's a-
Colonel Jim, the National Guardsman for 20 years. I mean, he's not a Second Amendment opponent. There are other issues, but he's not a gun banner.
Nope.
But his cousin Jelly Belly is, and the political power structure in Illinois is. That's a fact, obviously. Phil Darien.
Hey, good morning, guys. Amy, I got a challenge for you.
Yes.
The next time Governor Jelly Belly says there's no need for anybody to have all this ammunition and access to all these, weapons of mass destruction is what they call it. I challenge you, Amy, to say, Governor, with all due respect, there is no need for you to maintain a weight of 500 pounds and eat a 10,000 calorie diet a day. There's no need for that. Have a nice day, guys.
Thanks, Phil. Joe, Arlington Heights.
Good morning. Dan, you're always teaching us to connect the dots. I just find the coincidence between the Safety Act emptying the prisons of all the bad guys just in time to make room to lock up all the owners of sport rifles.
Yeah, right. Thanks for the call, Joe. Yeah, well, definitely on the side of the repeat violent criminals. I mean, that's what the power structure in this state, in the city and state, has made very clear as well, haven't they?
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Speaking of the city and the state, I mean, it's so bad in Chicago, the Venezuelan migrants are leaving. 707.
Dile adios. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
Evanston to vote on plans to rebuild Ryan Field. And one dead after a car crashes into a parked train on the southwest side. Bulls cruise past the Pistons, and the Blackhawks lose to the Florida Panthers. College football, the Fighting Illini look good over the weekend. WIND Chicago News Time is 7 o'clock.
Keep hope alive. Fox News, I'm Therese Crowley. The U.S. says hostage negotiations continue for Americans among over 200 hostages held by Hamas after Hamas claimed it was breaking off talks because of Israel's continued military pressure on the hospital in Gaza where Hamas is believed holed up underneath. Fox's Trey Yingst has more about how airstrikes continue to rattle northern Gaza.
The Israelis are using their air force to support their infantry troops on the ground. They've reportedly surrounded a number of hospitals, including the Al-Shifa Hospital, the largest hospital inside the Gaza Strip, where we understand there are still Palestinian patients inside, along with others who are sheltering in place. Now, the Israelis say they've left open the eastern side of the hospital for evacuations to the main evacuation corridor through the center part of the Strip. And they say overnight, they even offered to give the hospital fuel to ensure that they would be able to continue treating the injured Palestinians who are there, along with Palestinian babies who are inside the maternity ward of this hospital. Now, the Israelis say the Palestinians rejected this offer of fuel.
So now Palestinians claim 2 newborn babies died at the Gaza hospital due to fuel shortages as Hamas continues to wage its war with human shields. U.S. warplanes struck a pair of facilities in eastern Syria used by Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard, where they train fighters, taking out 6 to 7 Iranian proxy fighters in retaliation for attacks against U.S. military bases. Meanwhile, Israeli troops on the ground in Gaza with the delicate mission of keeping civilians safe but eliminating Hamas soldiers. Israeli leader Benjamin Netanyahu.
We're proceeding as quickly as we can, but also as carefully as we can, because we want to minimize civilian casualties, and we want to minimize casualties on our side while maximizing the casualties on of the Hamas terrorists.
On NBC's Meet the Press, America is listening to Fox.
It's 42 degrees at 7:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. A man charged with an armed robbery at a Southside business, leading police on a high-speed chase. Authorities say Norbert Thigpen entered the business Saturday, demanding an employee give him money from the cash register. The employee complied, and then the suspect shot into the ceiling and fled. State troopers tried to pull him over, but he fled, leading to a chase on the tri-state all the way into Wisconsin, and then finally back into Illinois. The vehicle eventually was stopped near Gurnee, and Thigpen was arrested. The family of a man who was killed trying to stop a car theft last month on Chicago's Near West Side, calling on police to speed up that investigation. March was held yesterday in honor of Salvador Herrera, gunned down on October 15. An award-winning Chicago seafood restaurant is closed following repeated failed health inspections. Chicago Department of Public Health has ordered the closure of Calumet Fisheries after health inspectors found evidence of mice and rat droppings and other minor facility issues. Authorities are investigating a stabbing that followed a crash on the south side. A man involved in a minor accident yesterday in the 4900 block of South Hermitage. There was an argument, and the altercation turned physical. The man was then stabbed by the other driver who drove off. There have been no arrests. City of Evanston expected to vote today on plans to rebuild Northwestern University's Ryan Field. The university is pledging $100 million in donations to the city if its proposed new football stadium is approved. Chicago sports, DeMar DeRozan dropped in 29. Bulls beat the Pistons 119-108. In South Florida, the Blackhawks gave up a third-period goal in a 4-3 loss to Florida. Connor Bedard lighting the lamp again for the Blackhawks, who host Tampa on Thursday. The news, a service of Townstone Financial. Should you buy a new home, can you afford it? Can you pay off credit cards using your home? Townstone has the answers. Call 312-896-2110. Nobody beats their rates. Illinois Mortgage Licensee 6629 and MLS 136639. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
With the holidays upon us, the increase in traveling, shopping, and connecting online also heightens the need to protect your identity and finances with LifeLock. Identity thieves see this time of year as an opportunity to drain your accounts, open new loans in your name, and damage your financial future. LifeLock detects and alerts you to the threats you might miss on your own. Don't let the busy holiday season catch you off guard. Save up to 25% off your first year with promo code CLAY. LifeLock.com, promo code CLAY.
More than 38,000 U.S. veterans are experiencing homelessness across our nation. Through its Homeless Veteran Program, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation is providing housing assistance and services to U.S. veterans in need. Over 500 veterans helped last year, more than 2,000 to receive help this year. If you or someone you know is a veteran who is homeless or at risk of homelessness, complete the inquiry form at t2t.org. Or donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at t2t.org.
Do you have a home remodeling project you'd love to get done? This is your opportunity to lock in this year's pricing with Chicago's Design Build Dream Team. Forever Remodeling is now offering exceptional savings. Simply sign on by December 31st to avoid any price increases next year. At Forever Remodeling, their expert designers and installers will turn your dreams into reality. Act now and you'll not only protect yourself from future price increases, but also beat the rush and secure a preferred spot in their schedule. Call 847-809-3355 or visit foreverremodeling.com. Highly skilled to design and build.
As you know, folks, I rarely endorse health-related products, and I'm asked to endorse many. But I was introduced to an all-natural juice drink formulated by a gentleman in Chicago suffering from high blood pressure. He created 120 Life, a juice drink and powdered mix that helps lower blood pressure naturally. I tried it, and now I take it regularly. It did lower my blood pressure, and it could help lower yours as well. It's made of pomegranates, tart, cherries, cranberries, hibiscus, beetroot, and magnesium. It helps lower blood pressure without the side effects of medication. I recommend this product if you are trying to lower your blood pressure. Try it for 2 weeks and see for yourself. If you don't see lower blood pressure numbers, there is a money-back guarantee. Visit 120life.com. That's 120life.com. Use the coupon code Dennis to save 15%. 120Life, the natural answer to high blood pressure.
Calling all Patriots! Are you ready for the adventure of a lifetime? Journey with me on the Patriots Alaska Cruise in June 2024. We'll dive deep into geopolitical trends and unpack the influences shaping the world today. It's an incredible opportunity to engage with me and other Patriots on an epic 7-day journey. Witness the untouched wilderness of Alaska while discussing America's future. Join us from June 29th to July 6, 2024. Book online, patriotsalaskacruise.com.
It's 7:07. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, and we will start on the north side of Chicago. Injuries reported, some critical in a Fullerton Parkway fire. EMS Plan 1, lots of emergency equipment on the scene, and Fullerton is blocked east and westbound between Sheffield and Lincoln. On the expressways, Edens right now, solid traffic. Cicero to Montrose, 36 in from Lake Cook Road. Kennedy inbound at about an hour 20 from O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. The Ike right now, stop and go as you travel between First Avenue and Western, 62 from 390 into the old post office. Eyeballing the Dan Ryan, 23 now, 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with our meteorologist, Steve Williams.
Sunshine, a mild day. The high today, 63. Clear tonight, cold, low 37. Sunny day tomorrow, the high 65. Sunshine, a nice day on Wednesday, the high at 66. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
42 at O'Hare, 40 at Midway, 30 in Aurora, 37 at DuPage Airport. Your next news update is at 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Like so many longtime Chicago residents, some of our recent residents from Venezuela are saying, this place sucks. I'm going back to Caracas.
Adios, amigos. La pasa bien.
A 39-year-old gentleman and his family have been sleeping on the floors of police stations and shelters after he could not afford to pay rent in Chicago.
Well, who can?
That's despite the fact that he had $15,000 for up to 6 months of rental assistance. I thought it was $9,000. This report's $15,000 for up to 6 months.
How did that happen?
Once it ran out, he had to give up his living space. He found a job in construction, getting paid in cash, but it wasn't enough to sustain his family. Since the rest of his family apparently arrived in June after he was here for some time. He said, look, the American dream doesn't exist anymore. There's nothing here for us. We didn't know things would be this hard. I thought the process was faster, talking about the job permitting situation in Chicago. How many more months of living in the streets will it take? No more. It's better that I leave. At least I have my mother back home. We just want to be home. If we're going to sleep on the streets here, we'd rather be sleeping on the streets over there. Also, he couldn't find a school for his stepdaughter, which was one of the reasons they left Venezuela, to get a better education. Well, they landed in the wrong place if they wanted a better education, but couldn't find a school. I don't know. This doesn't sound like a very welcoming city. What happened to Chicago? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. I broke into Chicago, broke into the United States, landed in Chicago, and all I got with this lousy rental assistance and a cot on a police floor, and I had to leave.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636, type in DA, then a quick comment. Yeah, there was another mom and her 2 kids. They just hopped on a Greyhound bus last week and headed back to Texas. Said there's nothing here for them, and they're bored, and they're cold. So they're out of here.
Brian Lozano, head of the volunteer group at the police station response team, whatever the hell that is. The word of the situation in Chicago is beginning to spread as city's resources have been exhausted, and the resettlement program now cannot take the strain of the number of migrants flooding in. Oh, really? Is that so? The resettlement program at the federal level is having problems, too. Imagine that. Bad policies at the federal level, problems. Bad policies at the local level, problems compounded. Josh Hawley had this exchange earlier in the month, speaking of the resettlement program, just to show you how we've scaled the chaos of major American sanctuary cities federally. That's been the approach of the Biden administration since he took office. Josh Hawley querying Department of Homeland Security's Office of Resettlement, Refugee Resettlement Director Robin Dunn Marcos during a Senate Judiciary Committee hearing. Here's what they're actually doing. They're not providing a better life for Venezuelans seeking a better economic life, better education for the kids. That's laudable. Unfortunately, that is not a legitimate reason for the granting of asylum. If that was the threshold, then America's population would quickly go from about 330 million to about 6 billion. So it's got to be a little bit more than that. But here's what the federal and state consortium of the Open Borders crowd is accomplishing.
Are there HSI special agents who are currently at the border, having been pulled away from other cases? Yes or no?
Combating the fight against fentanyl, yes.
How many agents are currently at the border, having been pulled off of their other?
We'll have to get the right clip. That's not it. Does that sound like Robin? Does that sound like a Robin? Okay. Anyway, the same thing, by the way, is happening in New York.
Oh, I love this story. I love it because this is going to happen here when we move people to Halstead and 115th. I don't think everyone's going to want to go because in New York on Sunday, just yesterday, they took a bunch of people out of that posh 4-star hotel, the Roosevelt Hotel, to bring them to Brooklyn, to one of these brand new tent cities. And did you see the video, Dan? Families got off the bus, and then about a half later, families got back onto the bus. One telling a reporter there, I work in the Bronx. My kids go to school in the Bronx. For us to live out here, this is ridiculous. That's what he said. Another illegal immigrant refused to move into the tent city and said he planned on returning to the Roosevelt Hotel in Manhattan.
Well, I'll tell you what, I appreciate the sort of commentary we're getting for from people in this country illegally, it shows they're assimilating because they have the same sense of entitlement that the residents of Chicago and New York have.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro. Answer line, another migrant said, well, they just said that they're taking us to a shelter. I can't stay here. This is crazy. Yeah, it's just nuts. Roosevelt Hotel, the Roosevelt Hotel, the 4-star hotel in Midtown Manhattan, serves as a processing center, but people don't want to leave there. Once they get there, like, this is great. Probably the same as the Inn of Chicago. Why would they want to move there? All the action's there, Dan. They could do their prostitution, their drug dealing. They're right by the Mag Mile. It's perfect. They're not going to be wanting shipped out to 115th in Chicago or 37th in California. I'm sure we are going to see the same exact thing here.
And again, that's not describing everyone that's in this country illegally as intending to do harm, but that also doesn't justify them being in this country illegally, that they don't intend to do harm. The threshold is a little higher than that and needs to be for all sorts of obvious reasons. I'd like somebody to go over to a Good Shepherd church in Oak Park that has become a refugee center, migrants. And I'm just waiting for some of the migrants there to say, it's nice that we have lodging, but I'm going back to my home country because I just can't stand being around these people in Oak Park. How do you guys live with these people in Oak Park, River Forest? Could you imagine? It's like the migrants that were shipped to Martha's Vineyard. I'm sure they were just as happy to get out as the Martha's Vineyard residents were happy to see them leave. It's like, God, I can't stand being around these people. I take my chances with Maduro and his death squads. All right, here's Josh Hawley now on the Refugee Resettlement Program talking to the DHS director about this. And again, what's actually being accomplished by this lawlessness that's been sanctioned at the border by the big guy and company.
Do you really think that you're helping these children by releasing them to labor traffickers and, yes, sex traffickers? 85,000 children whom you have no contact with, and your answer is we gave them a presentation before we turned them over to these people who are exploiting them on a scale not seen in this country for 100 years, a century. A century. It's a disgrace in the United States of America. Let me ask you this. You did an audit, I noticed, where you gave yourself a clean bill of health. So just tell me this. Do you require sponsors to document their relationship with the child?
Senator, we have a thorough vetting process.
Do you require sponsors to document their relationship with the child?
Yes, we go through.
No, you do not. You do not. Have you read the Senate's Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations reports on your office? There was one in 2016. There was one in 2018. There was one in 2020. There was one in 2022. Spanning administrations, what they found is you do not require sponsors to document their relationship with the child. You release them anyway. What about background checks? Do you require background checks on all adults in the household?
In cases where the child is being released to their parents, we do not require background checks. But Senator, I would
Do you
really
require
like,
background checks on all adults in the household in any case?
Yes, in some cases we do.
What percentage of cases do you do background checks on the adults in the household?
I don't have that number in front of me.
Do you do home visits in all cases? You can actually see where these children are being released, whose care you're putting them in?
We do not do home visits in all cases.
I just want to restate what we've said every time we've discussed this, which is this is not antagonism directed towards well-intentioned people from other countries who want to come to America. This is singularly directed at the political class. These criticisms, this ridicule, not ridiculing migrants, even those who've come here illegally. It's wrong. That's not the way it's done. I'm not ridiculing them. I understand it. The political ruling class, there is no amount of ridicule that is too much. There is no amount of shaming that should be directed their way, not just because of the lack of the rule of law and what they have, the kind of chaos they're creating, as you've seen in Chicago, and the expenditure of your money and all the other things. It's because they are indifferent to being accomplices after the fact to people who don't have good intentions and are exploiting kids. And by the way, that's not me saying it. Incredible. Incredible. The left. Willful blindness. Rank ignorance. Callousness. That's not me saying it. You listening? It's the New York Times.
Do you believe that children are at risk? Let's start with that.
Yes.
Okay. Did you warn the secretary?
Senator, I'm not going to get into the specifics of my conversation, but I would like the opportunity
Why
to
wouldn't
talk
you
about,
warn the secretary that children were at
I
risk?
would like the opportunity to talk about what we
Let's
are
look at what the
doing.
secretary said to you. The other one, James. Yeah, that one. At least 5 HHS staff members said they were pushed out after raising concerns about child safety. Mr. Becerra, that's the secretary, told the ORR director, that's you, right, that if she could not increase the number of discharges, he would find someone who could. And then he went on to say that if Henry Ford had run his plants like this, he would never have become famous and rich. This is not the way you do an assembly line. Get the kids out, run them through, get them out to those sponsors, those traffickers. Why didn't you resign when he said this? Do you think that this is morally acceptable?
Senator, I joined ORR in September of 2022. I believe that was reported prior to my arrival, but I cannot speak
This is from
to,
an article this year.
I can't speak to what the secretary.
Do you think that this is acceptable to run to
Minnesota, north of Minneapolis? You had 11 men, illegals, between the ages of 16 to 56 who were repeatedly raping these two girls that were tied up to a bed chain and horribly abused. And one escaped and then told the story, and then all 11 have been turned over to Border Patrol. Well, what's happening to them? Where are they now?
By the way,
Monsters.
Office of Refugee Resettlement in HHS, I think I said Homeland Security, but it's actually within the Department of Health and Human Services, as you mentioned, because that would implicate the director that Holly mentioned, Javier Becerra, as well. Yeah, our top priority. Do you do background checks? Do you vet? No. I mean, no. Yes, we do. No, you don't. Here's report after report after report that says you don't. Well, I was hoping to get away with that. I was hoping to get away with saying yes, we do. But these are the compassionate individuals.
Yeah.
These are the welcoming people. It's interesting how the people who are being welcomed feel about this welcome. Tom and Oswego.
Good morning, Dan and Andy. I have a personal stake in all of this. As you know, my son-in-law is a Mexican citizen, college educated, runs a business there, and can't get here because of the influx and chaos at the border. We've been told this through immigration attorneys who we've hired. Now his application has been approved. It could be up to a year before he even gets to do an interview. And then who knows after that? I think we all need to realize that we start from the premise this is done intentionally. I don't understand why people don't realize the damage this is causing, not only monetarily, but just the social aspect and fabric of our country. I love these people, a lot of these people coming over here. I understand why they're coming over here, but there has to be rules. And I blame the politicians who are doing this intentionally. And there's got to be consequence sooner or later, because this whole system is going to start collapsing. And while it collapses, my son-in-law is stuck in Mexico. He's a wonderful guy. He can support himself over here, and he can't get here to see his wife and his 2-year-old, my grandson. This is ridiculous. And like I said, this is all being done intentionally. And I wish all the politicians, when they question these idiots, I wish they would just say, why is this being done intentionally? It just frustrates the heck out of me that this whole system is set up, and it's set up to fail. That's what's going to happen. It's going to collapse. And when it does, everybody will be looking around trying to figure out what happened and blaming somebody.
I think
guys for ranting, guys.
Thanks for the call, Tom. I think we're there. It's going to fail. What does failure look like if this isn't it?
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
You want a killer Black Friday deal? I got one for you. Free Moto G 5G phone from Pure Talk. No gimmicks, no trade-in necessary. Just sign up for Pure Talk's unlimited talk, unlimited text, and 15 gig data plan for just $35 and get the Moto G 5G phone for free. But here's the deal. You need to move fast because these phones will be gone by the end of the month. So if your current phone is on life support, upgrade for free with Pure Talk. Enjoy 2-day battery life, an exceptional quad-pixel camera, and a whole lot more. Just dial pound 250 and say keyword SAVE NOW to speak with Pure Talk's U.S. customer service team. They make switching so easy and will make sure you get your new phone. Remember, Pure Talk gives you America's most dependable 5G network at half the price. So make the switch today. Dial pound 250 and say keyword SAVE NOW to claim your free Moto G 5G phone with qualifying plan. Pure Talk. Simply smarter wireless.
Guys, there's a lot of people talking about testosterone, but do your homework and be sure to visit a provider you can trust. I trust my friends at Low T Center, where I get my levels checked the past 8 years. At Low T Center, they make it easy. You walk in, take a simple blood test, and with their on-site lab, you get your results back in about 25 minutes. If you've been feeling tired, grumpy, notice weight gain and loss of muscle mass, these could all be signs of low testosterone levels. Low T Center is not your typical doctor's office where you have a long wait. It's concierge medicine exclusively for men. They have affordable and convenient options for treatment, including physician-monitored, self-inject treatments that ship directly to you each month, so there's no need to drive to the center for weekly visits. And right now, Low T Center is only $25 to get your T-level tested with results back in about 25 minutes. So get to it. What are you waiting for? Log on now to lowtcenter.com to book your appointment online. That's lowtcenter.com. Tell them Dan Proft sent you. When you do, Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
You can't live forever, but your legacy can. For over 185 years, families have trusted Catholic Cemeteries of Chicago with 47 locations throughout Cook and Lake counties to set their legacies in stone. A prepaid cemetery plan locks in today's prices and safeguards against rising inflation. Visit CatholicCemeteryChicago.org or call 708-236-5490 to schedule a free consultation today.
Hey there, have you been feeling the sting of cold floors when you step off the couch or out of bed? Well, it's that time of year. Permaseal has the permanent solution for you. From now until November 30th, you'll receive $100 off PermaFoam insulation. Insulating your basement and crawl space is the most effective and worthwhile way to solve your cold floor problem. An untreated crawl space can rot your floor joists, breed mold, and increase your energy costs. For over 40 years, Roy Spencer and the team have helped 500,000 Chicagoland homeowners make their home healthier and more valuable. So be sure to check out their awesome reviews with Google and the BBB and schedule your free inspection and take advantage of Permaseal's November promotion, $100 off any new estimate for PermaFoam. 800-421-SEAL or visit permaseal.net.
You're smart, you're busy, and don't have time to waste on the mainstream media cycle. Salem News Channel breaks that cycle. Topics that matter from hosts worth watching. Dinesh D'Souza, Andrew Wilkow, Brandon Tatum, and more. Open debate and free speech you won't find anywhere else. Salem News Channel, not like the other guys. Watch anytime on any screen, free 24/7. Find everything you need to know at snc.tv. That's snc.tv. AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Why the global free market will save the world. Johan Norberg, or is it Johan? He's Swedish.
Johan
Norberg, Swedish historian, senior fellow at the Cato Institute, will explain why the global free market will save the world at 7:37.
But first, let's stop by that newsroom. Here's Mike Scott. Good morning, Mike.
Dan and Amy, at 7:30, we have 42 degrees, and the UN says one of its facilities in Gaza was damaged in an Israeli naval bombardment on Sunday. Donald Trump Jr. set to return to court as the first defense witness in the Trump Organization's civil fraud trial in New York. Trump Family Organization is being accused of inflating wealth to obtain better loans. House Speaker Mike Johnson is putting forward a two-step temporary funding plan to avoid a government shutdown as a Friday deadline draws near. The first part of the plan would extend funding until Jan 19 for a select handful of departments. Former British Prime Minister David Cameron has made a shock return to high office. He was appointed Foreign Secretary on Monday in a major shakeup of the Conservative government that saw the firing of Home Secretary Suella Braverman. Braverman drew fire for accusing English police of being too lenient with pro-Palestinian protesters. Republican presidential candidate Tim Scott says he's ending his 2024 bid for president in a move that surprised his donors and stunned campaign staff. He made the announcement last night on Fox News Channel's Sunday Night in America with Trey Gowdy. 2 men are shot, one fatally, early Sunday in the Little Village neighborhood, according to Chicago police. Officers found the 2 victims in the 3000 block of South Trumbull. One later died at Mount Sinai Hospital. Marnie Yang, the convicted 2021 killer of the longtime girlfriend of former Bears player Sean Gale, is looking to request a new trial. She's due in a Lake County courtroom today for a judge to hear that request. Yang was convicted in 2011 of killing Ronnie Reuter and her unborn child, Reuter, the longtime girlfriend of Gale. DeMar DeRozan dropped in 29. Bulls over the Pistons 119-108 in Chicago. Bulls have won 2 of 3, and they visit the Bucks later on tonight. Blackhawks gave up a pretty bad third-period goal in a 4-3 loss to the Panthers. Connor Bedard lit the lamp as well for the Hawks, who host Tampa on Thursday in a home-and-home. College hoops, the 2-0 Fighting Illini host number 7 Marquette tomorrow, and the Northwestern Wildcats will welcome in Western Michigan. The news service of Turnkey.pro. Turnkey knows small business. Their team of veteran consultants knows how to reduce costs and grow new revenue. Turnkey has solutions for your business. Visit Turnkey.pro. That's Turnkey.pro. And a check of traffic and weather is on the way next on AM 560.
Dennis Prager says we're lacking something today.
Why do people believe Hamas? If in World War II the Nazis had made a statement and the Allies had made a counter-statement, would people assume that the Nazi statement was true? Why does the same common sense not apply today? And there is an answer, because our moral compass is broken today.
The Dennis Prager Show. Weekdays at 11, right before Charlie Kirk at 1 on AM 560. The Answer.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule, changing the world one life at a time.
My name is Ruthie. I love helping people. There's so many people that are down. Sometimes all it takes is a piece of pie to make the sunshine come in their life again. And with the help of Balance of Nature, it's making it more fun and giving me more energy. And I would really like to thank Balance of Nature. These are mine for life.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
The Daily Herald 2022 Best of the Fox winner for Best Financial Planner is Total Clarity Wealth Management. The 2022 Reader's Choice Award winner for Best Wealth Management Firm and Best Financial Planner is Total Clarity Wealth Management. Are you ready for a change? Choose Total Clarity Wealth Management. With a professional team of financial advisors and CPAs, they can show you the way to financial readiness and keep you on track. Their philosophy is built on solid relationships and trust, with access to expertise in tax planning strategies, 401k rollover services, estate planning, and more. They can help you be ready for anything.
Hi, this is Terry Murphy. The cornerstone of our practice has been to help clients stay focused on their goals throughout life's changes.
Get in touch with them at TotalClarityWealth.com. That's TotalClarityWealth.com. Securities offered through LPL Financial Member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Total Clarity Wealth Management, Inc., a registered investment advisor and separate entity from LPL Financial. Awards are based on number of reader votes. This award is not representative of the views of clients and is not indicative of future performance or services.
Exergen thermometers are a top choice of medical professionals at highly ranked hospitals across the U.S. Accuracy matters, so make Exergen the chosen thermometer for your home and family.
7:36. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. And this update, a service of Woodland Windows and Doors. Welcome a Woodland sales expert into your home. You'll get a no-pressure sale, product expert, design consultant. Well, someone that has your best interest in mind. Visit woodlandwindows.com to get started. We'll start on the north side, and right now, Fullerton Parkway, east and westbound between Sheffield and Lincoln, remains shut down due to a structure fire with a critical injury this morning. Chicago Fire remains on the scene. Inbound Edens, 49 minutes, Lake Cook Road into the junction. The Kennedy right now sitting at just about an hour and 40 minutes. O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. The Ike, it's an hour from 390 into the old post office. Traveling on the Stevenson this morning, it's an hour 5 from 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Dan Ryan, 38 minutes, 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. A very mild set of days and sunshine. 63 today, 65 tomorrow, and 66 on Wednesday. Currently 42. Your next news update is at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. New book, The Capitalist Manifesto, Why the Global Free Market Will Save the World. That view is increasingly fallen out of favor, including in the ranks of the right. This whole perceived sort of Adam Smithian case for free markets domestically and free trade internationally, particularly the latter. So let's pore over the case to be made. Johan Norberg is a Swedish historian. He's a senior fellow at the Cato Institute, and he's the author of The Capitalist Manifesto, Why the Global Free Market Will Save the World. Johan Norberg, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you. My pleasure.
So here's a criticism from Michael Lind, who's an academic at University of Texas, Austin, as I'm sure you know. He talks about, on the trade piece of this, a historical example that your book doesn't contemplate or can't properly explain from the perspective of the sort of the radical free market type. He reminds us that once Britain had achieved an insurmountable global lead in manufacturing in the early 20th century, the UK switched from its earlier policy of mercantilism and preached a doctrine of universal free trade, hoping that its superior exports would kill infant manufacturing industries abroad. However, Americans and Germans rejected free trade, built up their domestic manufacturing industries to compete with Britain and other countries with the aid of tariffs and various industrial policies. By the early 20th century, I should say Britain and the the 19th century. And then by the early 20th century, protectionist America and protectionist Germany had caught up with and in some areas surpassed free trade Britain as manufacturing powers. And we see the same thing, I think Lynn would argue, repeating itself with respect to America in the 20th century versus China at the end of the 20th century into the 21st century. And it's through the same sorts of government policies. So how do you respond to that in proposing that international markets be as free and unfettered as they possibly can be?
Well, I actually agree that was a mistake by Britain, thinking that they would kill off infant industries in the rest of the world by applying free trade, because that's not how it works. Free trade is a win-win game, whereby no deal ever happens unless both parties think that they benefit from it. And one of the greatest things is that it's not just goods and services crossing borders, it's also new ideas and better methods and better management. So it tends to result in raising living standards and processes in more countries, including back then in Germany and in the US. I would very much object, though, in thinking that it was the tariffs in the US that helped out. And a great trade expert, one of the world's leading, Douglas Irwin, he looked into this, and he saw that what really benefited the U.S. during this time, productivity grew the fastest in services, transportation, utilities, communications, in the non-traded sectors, not in manufacturing and agriculture, where the tariffs applied. So what happened was that the U.S. benefited from getting inputs and stuff from the rest of the world by trading with the rest of the world. And I would say that goes now as well. And it definitely goes for American consumers, especially the ones who need better purchasing power and opportunities, low and middle income households.
And so just sticking on this topic for a second in a more modern context, what about the argument that you've undoubtedly heard before that neo-mercantilist countries like South Korea, Taiwan, China, take unfair advantage of the openness and liberalism of their trading partners to gain market share in export industries that are supported by their respective governments?
Yeah, I think it's a waste when countries like China subsidize their own manufacturing to such a dramatic extent. I think, though, that actually in many cases it's us who are benefiting from it, the U.S. and European consumers, not the Chinese economy. If you look at where China's made the most progress, it's in private companies, it's in the most liberalized areas. It's not in the state-owned enterprises that have benefited the most from cheap credits and lots of subsidies. Instead, they have been the ones who created excess supply in lots of areas and lots of costly and wasteful spending. Sometimes, obviously, that disrupts our industries and creates problems and lags. But I don't think we should see this as sort of their secret ingredients in say, China's progress. On the contrary, this is a weakness. This is one of the reasons why they are seeing so much unsustainable debts and the kind of constantly disappointing growth rates nowadays, because they're not as entrepreneurial as they should be.
The point you make about unemployment, you essentially say, which is a common free market libertarian position, that artificial increases in wages, like by government diktat, may cause lasting or permanent unemployment for a substantial portion of the workforce. Lind and others argue that that actually doesn't happen, that mass unemployment has always been caused by financial crises or external supply shocks, like, say, I don't know, locking down your economy, which we all did, not by wage and benefit mandates. How do you respond to that?
Well, overall, I agree. Shocks tend to have that detrimental effect, or trying to shut down the world economy, which, by the way, is an excellent argument against protectionism, because that's really like constant lockdowns in different sectors. But if Lind and others doesn't think that wages and benefit levels has any effect on the kind of inputs, including labor that's used in production. You should look more to Europe and places with very high minimum wages. And then you can see that for a very long time, lots of European countries have had unemployment rates around 10% or even more. So there is a connection, and why wouldn't it be? You constantly think about what are you going to use in terms of work hours or invest more in machinery. And obviously, if the price of a worker increases much more than its productivity, then that's an added cost. And then you have to start thinking about alternatives, just as you would if suddenly one particular kind of intermediate good, some sort of input in production, some sort of resource increases in price dramatically. It's a signal that you have to conserve that particular resource and just use it when it's very valuable.
While writing your book, you went around the United States and talked to people who were on welfare. What did you find?
Yeah, I found that it's very expensive to be poor. I found out that, we talk a lot about the high marginal tax rates that the rich are facing, but actually the marginal tax rates for the poorest are much, much higher. It could be 80% or even 100% of an extra income that you get that you suddenly are deprived of. Not just in terms of increased taxes, but also because certain benefits are removed. So this is really an area where we need so much more heavy thinking and imagination, I think, when it comes to social policy, because oftentimes there are so many different benefit systems and it's difficult to calculate. I've met so many people on welfare who are sitting there with pen and paper and with relatives trying to help them out to understand what happens if I were to move to this place and get this job instead. How much would I lose in benefits at this one particular moment? And it turns out that to many of them, it's incomprehensible. But if you look at the hard data, many of them wouldn't make much by doing something as dramatic as moving to a new kind of job. And I think this is one thing that slowed down the mobility of our economy and has created welfare dependency. And it takes a lot of hard work to reform these areas.
Since you're of Swedish extraction, there was a piece in Foreign Policy magazine the other day about Nordic countries that have this perception still as being these sort of socialist government-directed economies and societies. Comrade Bernie Sanders is always holding up Sweden, Finland, Denmark as like examples of these socialist utopias. But it turns out that the picture is a lot more complicated than maybe it was 2 or 3 generations ago. What's the experience of Sweden, for example, over the last 3 decades, and what that tells us about domestic and international-oriented government meddling in matters economic, and what that begets, and what the course corrections, if any, were in Sweden from learned experience.
Yeah, this is interesting. There seems to be a lagging perception in the U.S. and also all around the world. It's stuck in the 1970s, because that's the one period, the 1970s and 80s, when Sweden really became an outlier in terms of very big government, very high taxes, regulating most industries and prices and trade. And that's what people still remember. And they also remember that Sweden seems to be a fairly functioning society compared to many other places, which is correct. After all, I grew up in Sweden in the 70s and 80s. But what they miss is that this was a moment when we started to experimenting, because Sweden was already one of the richest and most well-functioning countries on the planet. So we had some good baggage. But then what happened in the 1970s and 80s was that this was the one moment in modern Swedish history when we began to lag behind other countries. Growth rates constantly disappointed. We didn't create a single net job in the private sector. And we built up debts and deficits constantly because it was so difficult to do business in Sweden. And actually, some of the most famous Swedish companies like IKEA and Tetra Pak, they left Sweden in the 1970s and 80s because it was so difficult to do business there. And it all ended in a terrible financial crisis in the early 1990s. And for a brief moment in time, we actually had a 500% interest rate. Not 5, which seems very high right now, but 500%.
Steve, bad time to buy a home. Yeah. And so the course corrections.
So that was time for a course correction. And what happened then is that Sweden began then to liberalize markets and businesses and reduce taxes again. So if a Bernie Sanders wanted to imitate actually existing Sweden today, he would have to liberalize many markets. So he would have to reform Social Security, introduce school vouchers, abolish occupational licensing, and actually abolish taxes on inheritance and property and lower them on corporate taxes. Because that was what was needed to make Sweden open for business again.
It seems to me one of the things that some of the neo-mercantilists argue is a contradiction in terms. They sort of argue to reduce the regulatory and administrative state domestically to allow for freer competition, freer market, to make markets freer and more competitive, and at the same time argue for protectionist policies abroad. And you're never going to have a perfect free market. There's always going to be, because just of the nature of humanity, there's always going to be government meddling domestically, internationally. But shouldn't those policies be thought of as working in tandem? If you're going to liberalize domestically, you should liberalize sort of proportionally when it comes to policies that have international impact?
Yes, to me, this doesn't make sense. If it was really a way of making us stronger, not to have to do business with the rest of the world, why wouldn't Illinois benefit more from not doing business with Texas and New York? And if that's the case, why should Chicago do business with Milwaukee? And in effect, why would a single street block do business with another part of the town? There's no, borders and countries do exist, but in economic terms, the same principles apply, that we benefit from having access to a larger selection of ideas, technological capabilities, goods and services. So we benefit from being open to the rest of the world. That goes for individuals and households, and it goes for countries as well. And we certainly benefit from the competition from other places because it forces us to always be on our toes, and our businesses won't become monopolies, but instead have to keep on upgrading technology, management, and make sure that the prices don't become extortionary. So to me, there's a lack of consistency, or at least of economic literacy there.
Johan Norberg is a Swedish historian and senior fellow at the Cato Institute. The new book, The Capitalist Manifesto, Why the Global Free Market Will Save the World. Johan Norberg, thanks for joining us. Good luck with the book.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
You're listening to Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Have you written a book and want to get it published? Christian Faith Publishing helps thousands of authors just like you publish their books with a company dedicated to strong Christian values. And to help you get started, we want to send you our free writer's guide, packed with tips, tricks, and templates for authors. Christian Faith Publishing reviews every book submitted to us. And if your book is approved, we'll edit, design, print, promote, and distribute your book online and in stores everywhere. Imagine seeing your book in specialty Christian bookstores, Amazon, iTunes, Barnes & Noble, and many others. authors. It all starts with a completed manuscript and one call to Christian Faith Publishing at 888-521-4447. If you have a novel, children's book, poetry, biography, or any inspirational work you've written, we can help you get it published today. Shouldn't you work with a publisher who shares your Christian values of integrity and honesty? You can get your book published. Get your free writer's guide today. Call 888-521-4447. That's 888-521-4447. 888-521-4447.
All right, can't wait to do it. Take Balance of Nature. Met so many people this weekend at Freedom Summit, our 10th annual, by the way, who are happy, satisfied, Balance of Nature customers, and you should be one too. Try it out. Do something. Be proactive. Do something for yourself and take Balance of Nature. Give it a week. Sometimes it takes 2 weeks. For some people, just a few days. But you should do it. 800-246-8751. That is the number to call. 800-246-8751. Use discount code Chicago. First timers get free shipping and 35% off your first preferred order of fruits and veggies, or simply go online to balanceofnature.com. Discount code Chicago.
Now playing.
Harry, God has chosen you to have a son, the King of all kings.
The greatest story ever told is now an epic Christmas musical for the whole family.
You truly believe that this child is the chosen one? What is his name?
Jesus.
Journey to Bethlehem. Rated PG. Parental guidance suggested. In theaters everywhere now. Soundtrack also available. Get tickets now at journeytobethlehem.com.
Hi, Rhett Rasmussen of BestHotGrill.com. Step up your grilling game with our Solaire portable infrared grills. Our compact everywhere is a favorite of RVers and trailer pullers. Solaire infrared provides the quick sear for bar marks and texture needed to properly finish sous vide. Use a portable alongside your larger conventional grill to create an instant sear zone and more juicy and flavorful food. Learn more at BestHotGrill.com. Affordable, powerful, portable infrared grills at BestHotGrill.com.
What if you could build a six-figure retirement income with almost half the money saved? You heard that right. Get a discount on your retirement, creating a six-figure income with 40% less than traditional 401ks and mutual funds. Hi, I'm Mitch Lyons, best-selling author and executive producer of a new Hollywood documentary called The Baby Boomer Dilemma. In this film, economists and Nobel Prize-winning PhDs share a strange concept I call the retirement discount. It gives you more retirement income with the same dollar saved, and your money is never at risk if the market crashes. That's right. If the market crashes 30%, you lose nothing. Even people who are on track have shifted money to this new strategy because it increases their retirement income or can allow them to stop working years sooner. So if you are over 50 and want a bigger, better retirement with less money, call to get a free copy of this brand new movie, 1-800-578-3535. This is a $30 value, but when you call today, you get it completely free, plus 2 hours of bonus behind-the-scenes footage. No credit card required. Call right now. 1-800-578-3535. That's 1-800-578-3535. Again, 1-800-578-3535.
Homeowners experiencing low water pressure, rusty yellow water, little to no hot water, or pressure so low that showering is difficult?
Honey, don't flush. I'm in the shower.
These are all symptoms of clogged and corroded galvanized water pipes that are filled with gunk older than you. You should see it. It's disgusting. You drink it, brush your teeth with it, and bathe in it. Yuck. For your family's sake, repipe your home with quality PEX or copper pipes from All Affordable Plumbing. We're your local, family-owned and operated repiping expert. We can repipe your home in 1 to 3 days with minimal disturbance, and we include a lifetime guarantee. And for a limited time, we're offering 12-month no-interest, no-payment financing and a free water heater. So if you have low water pressure, call for a free in-home estimate at 800-NEW-PIPE or visit allaffordable.org. That's 800-NEW-PIPE or visit allaffordable.org. If you have low water pressure, a copper repipe will get you flowing again. Call for a free estimate at 800-NEW-PIPE. That's 800-NEW-PIPE.
If you're trading or thinking about trading in the stock market, listen up. Last year, a staggering number of Americans were forced to take out withdrawals from their savings. Worse than the dot-com bubble, housing meltdown, or pandemic crash. Those could all feel like a blip compared to what some Wall Street analysts expect may be coming as soon as December. Some are calling it the market tsunami, and it could wipe out billions of dollars in the markets. Vantage Point's AI analyzes billions of data points in seconds, so you get highly accurate predicted market conditions in advance. Text the word money to 813-813 now to learn more in a free online class. Text MONEY to 813-813. Text the word money to 813-813. Trading involves financial risk and is not suitable for all investors. Past results do not guarantee future performance. By texting, you agree to the terms available at VantagePointSoftware.com and consent to receive calls and texts using automated technology about offers or info by or on behalf of Vantage Point. Your consent is not a condition to purchase and can be revoked at any time. Message and data rates may apply. Text the word money to 813-813.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 8:08, we'll talk to attorney Judith Kott about a Christian student that was pressed upon by religious zealots in CPS. 8:08.
It's now 8 a.m. WIND Chicago.
Field shrinks. CJ Papa, Fox News. The campaign of South Carolina Senator Tim Scott never found its stride, and now he's leaving the campaign trail. Fox's Peter Doocy this morning outside the White House.
He will not be the Trump alternative to Republican primary goers and caucus goers. He says that voters have been telling him, not now, Tim.
I go back to Iowa. It will not be as a presidential candidate. I am suspending my campaign.
Who benefits from that? Reuters reports in the moments after Scott dropped out, two major donors to his campaign told Reuters they would switch their support to Haley, who, like Scott, hails from the state of South Carolina. There are various reports that this came as a complete surprise to campaign staffers who were under the impression that Tim Scott was still playing to win.
Senator Scott speaking there to Fox News. Would he consider being a vice presidential candidate? Scott says, quote, being the VP has never been on my to-do list, end quote. To the war between Israel and Hamas, Gaza's largest hospital reports it's suspending operations, with the Israeli military saying it as the building surrounded, claiming Hamas militants are working underneath it in a series of tunnels. Fox's Jonathan Savage has more.
The World Health Organization says the Al-Shifa hospital is no longer functioning. According to the Hamas-run health ministry, 2,000 people are inside, including patients, medics and displaced civilians. The Israeli military states it's ready to help dozens of vulnerable babies leave the facility, but denies striking the building as it takes on Hamas. The 27 European Union nations have issued a joint statement condemning Hamas for what they say is the use of hospitals and civilians as human shields. Jonathan Savage, Fox News.
Headaches for drivers on the busy I-10 freeway in downtown L.A. this morning. Officials say it's closed indefinitely between Alameda Street and Santa Fe Avenue. Massive fire damaged an elevated stretch of the roadway. America's listening to Fox News.
.42 degrees in Chicago at 8:02 on AM 560 The Answer, and good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Two men were shot, one fatally, early Sunday morning in Little Village. Chicago police tell us two victims were hit by gunfire in the 3000 block of South Trumbull. A 22-year-old man was shot in the head and abdomen and later taken to Mount Sinai Hospital, where he died. Marnie Yang, convicted in 2011 of killing the longtime girlfriend of Bears player Sean Gale, is looking to request a new trial. It's a high-profile case that has made some headlines for over a decade. Yang is due in court today in Lake County. She was convicted in 2011. The family of a man who was killed trying to stop a car theft last month on Chicago's Near West Side is calling on police to speed up the investigation. A march was held yesterday in honor of Salvador Herrera. Herrera was gunned down October 15th while trying to stop a group from stealing an unoccupied car in the 700 block of South Loomis. An award-winning Chicago seafood restaurant is closed following repeated failed health inspections. The Department of Public Health has ordered the closure of Calumet Fisheries after health inspectors found evidence of mice and rat droppings and other minor issues like a leaky faucet and damaged floor tiles. The owner is working to correct those violations. DeMar DeRozan dropped in 29 as the Bulls beat the Pistons 119-108 in Chicago. Bulls have won 2 of 3, and they visit the Bucks later on tonight. Raiders a win on Sunday Night Football over the Jets. Week 10 wraps up with the Bills and Broncos on Monday Night Football. The news service of PKF Mueller CPA professionals, business and financial advisors, ready to help with record keeping, cash flow forecasting, and budgeting. Visit online at pkfmueller.com, pkfmueller.com. 8:04, time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank. Visit signaturebank.bank for all your commercial banking needs. Now the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Stuart Varney, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Boeing shares are rallying after several airlines unveiled big deals at the Dubai Air Show to purchase Boeing planes. Also, there are reports saying China is considering ending its freeze on purchases of Boeing 737 jets. Novo Nordisk shares are rallying after the pharma company revealed research at a medical conference saying its Wegovy obesity treatment can also reduce the risk of heart attacks, strokes, and deaths from cardiovascular conditions. Shares of Shiseido, the Japanese beauty company, slipped to a 6-year low in Tokyo on worsening conditions between Japan and China. Chinese shoppers are staying away from Shiseido products after Japan discharged wastewater from the Fukushima nuclear power plant in August. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Ginny Cosola, invested in you.
8:05, a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule, changing the world one life at a time.
I'm Carolyn. I've been in private practice of physicians physical therapy for 35 years.
And you're going to come in, but breathe. Yep, perfect.
I open up at 4 a.m. and I'll go on till 10 a.m. and it's day after day. And as you can see by the equipment here, we are intensely active. People watch, they observe, and people say, Carolyn, what's your secret? And I say it's from proper diet, proper exercise, and of course through Balance of Nature. I'm 60, but since taking Balance of Nature, I feel the energy level of 27. I've been taking Balance of Nature for several years and I love it. I endorse it, I believe in it, and I would recommend it.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Homeowners experiencing low water pressure, rusty yellow water, little to no hot water, or pressure so low that showering is difficult?
Honey, don't flash. I'm in the shower.
These are all symptoms of clogged and corroded galvanized water pipes that are filled with gunk older than you. You should see it. It's disgusting. You drink it, brush your teeth with it, and bathe in it. Yuck. For your family's sake, repipe your home with quality PEX or copper pipes from All Affordable Plumbing. We're your local family-owned and operated repiping expert. We can repipe your home in 1 to 3 days with minimal disturbance, and we include a lifetime guarantee. And for a limited time, we're offering 12-month no-interest, no-payment financing and a free water heater. So if you have low water pressure, call for a free in-home estimate at 800-NEW-PIPE or visit allaffordable.org. That's 800-NEW-PIPE or visit allaffordable.org. If you have low water pressure, a copper repipe will get you flowing again. Call for a free estimate at 800-NEW-PIPE. That's 800-NEW-PIPE.
With the holidays upon us, the increase in traveling, shopping, and connecting online also heightens the need to protect your identity and finances with LifeLock. Identity thieves see this time of year as an opportunity to drain your accounts, open new loans in your name, and damage your financial future. LifeLock detects and alerts you to the threats you might miss on your own. Don't let the busy holiday season catch you off guard. Save up to 25% off your first year with promo code CLAY. LifeLock.com, promo code CLAY.
More than 38,000 U.S. veterans are experiencing homelessness across our nation. Through its Homeless Veteran Program, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation is providing housing assistance and services to U.S. veterans in need. Over 500 veterans helped last year, more than 2,000 to receive help this year. If you or someone you know is a veteran who is homeless or at risk of homelessness, complete the inquiry form at T2T.org or donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org.
It's 8:08. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Again, north side, critical injuries because of a structure fire. Lincoln Park. So Fullerton Parkway, east and westbound between Sheffield and Lincoln and North Halstead shut down right now. And fire department still on the scene and still clearing that scene this morning. Hop on the expressways with me, will you? 43 inbound Edens Lake Cook Road into the junction. Kennedy right now at 90 minutes, O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. The Ike, 15 minutes in from Manheim to the old post office. And the Stevenson right now is at 1 hour from 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Dan Ryan, 41 minutes, 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with our meteorologist Steve Williams.
Sunshine looks like a mild day, high 63, clear tonight, low 37, and then sunny, warm day tomorrow, the high at 65. Plenty of sunshine, nice day on Wednesday, high Wednesday afternoon, 66. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
42 at O'Hare, 43 Midway, 45 along Chicago's lakefront. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Health Quest Radio with Dr. David Kolbaba. Saturday mornings at 11. Visit healthquestradio.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. This is an interesting story. Apparently, the teachers, administrators, the leadership of Bogan High School was attempting to turn the high school into a Hindu temple.
Oh, really? What could go wrong?
A student who describes herself as a very strong Christian basketball player at Bogan, or I think formerly of Bogan now, Mariah Green, said there was an attempt made to force her to participate in Hindu rituals inside the school. A woman who was teaching her meditation in mandated quiet time, quote unquote, asked her to bow to an image of a foreign deity she did not recognize. The woman teaching the meditation said it would help her internalize the mantras and bring her to Zen. She said, Mariah Green, I'm in school right now. Why are we learning how to meditate in this way? I just knew it wasn't right, so that's what made me take the initiative and go home to tell my parents and auntie, who was my pastor at the time, that I didn't feel comfortable with what they were enforcing on me in school. The only time I kneel was when I was at the altar at church when I'm praying and I'm kneeling down for God because that's the way that we were taught, but not the kneeling to that idol. It was inappropriate. And she's not commenting on the Hindu religion. She's just saying that's not my faith, basically. She also said the students were informed by the instructor that the mantras were quote-unquote meaningless words, but this young lady taking some initiative, she did some research on the mantras and found they were actually the names of Hindu gods. So it wasn't meaningless. It was essentially attempting to compel a student to practice Hindu when she is a Christian. Boy, all this talk about religious zealotry from the right. Huh. Bogan High School, CPS. Remarkable. For more on this story, pleased to be joined by Judith Cott, who's a senior associate attorney at Mock and Baker, the law firm that represented Mariah Green in this case against CPS. Judith Cott, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Sure. I'm glad to be here.
So, fill in the blanks for us in terms of anything else that we should know about this case. And the way that Mariah has described it, I'm a little unclear. Is this a teacher? Is this some sort of volunteer? Well, give us some more detail here to fill in the picture.
Yeah, I'd be glad to do that. We filed a lawsuit in February of this year, so anybody that's interested in finding out more details can find it on our website, which is Mauck, MAUCK, Baker.com, under the blog section. basically what happened is the David Lynch Foundation brought a proposal to the University of Chicago Urban Lab to run a research project involving the operation of Quiet Time and the TM program, which is Transcendental Meditation, into Chicago Public Schools. So this happened, and they agreed to cooperate and coordinate with each other.
David Lynch. Sorry to interrupt, but David Lynch, like David Lynch, the director, like that.
Yeah,
David Lynch
Foundation.
Yeah, but I mean that's the David Lynch we're talking about.
Correct.
Okay.
So they all cooperated according to our complaint that we filed on Mariah's behalf in order to implement this TM/Quiet Time program into 8 CPS schools, and Bogan High School happened to be one of them. So Mariah Green, she transferred from a charter school, and I believe she was 16 at the time when she came to Bogan High School. And she came to Bogan because she's a basketball player at the time, and they offered a good program. So when she came there, she knew that she had to keep her grades up, and she was very conscientious and wanted to do so. So she was very confused when she and about 3 or 4 other students were led into a darkened room. There was a woman with a headdress on, and she was chanting Sanskrit words. If you go to the complaint, we indicate what those words actually were, which was inviting Hindu deities into the room. So there was a table, there was an image of a Guru Dev, and she was asked to kneel in front of it, and she made the excuse that her knee hurt so that she would get out of it. There was about 3 days of training, so-called training for this transcendental meditation. She went home and told her mother and her auntie, and they told her, you're not going to kneel, and she knew that because she's a Christian. So then the other aspect of this is there's a Quiet Time program that she was supposed to remember the mantra that was whispered into her ear and meditate on it 15 minutes a day, 2 periods a day, in her 2nd period and her 7th period. I believe one of the classes was her art class. So there would be a voice on the intercom that says, okay, it's quiet time, clear your desk, get quiet. So students were supposed to, there was a control group in this research project, and there were people that were to meditate on their mantra. And the idea behind this is they were trying to target violence in particular Chicago public schools, and they thought that this particular program would be beneficial for students. But we maintain in the complaint it wasn't like a regular meditation, like just close your eyes, take some deep breaths, think of something peaceful. This was actually very controlled. It was a captive audience of minor students, and we alleged that they were coerced.
So this class, okay, so this program called Quiet Time, was it an actual class? Or was it a first period class, second period? Was this an extracurricular activity, or did they make every student at Bogan go to Quiet Time?
They made every student go into Quiet Time. It was incorporated into their bell schedule for the 2nd period and for 7th period. So it was definitely part of the instructional time, even though they were not allowed, to even work on art during her art class or, do homework or anything like that. They were to close their eyes, meditate on their mantra, and that was considered to be, quote, instructional time.
And so this was, right, so it wasn't volunteer. And it is, again, who's leading the class? Is it a teacher, or is it somebody from the David Lynch Foundation? Is it somebody who used to write Twin Peaks? I mean, who's there? Who's in front of the class?
Sometimes it was someone from the David Lynch Foundation. They hired transcendental meditation teachers, but sometimes it was a CPS teacher. And so we maintained that the CPS teachers were all trained in transcendental meditation as well.
When mom, did mom go to the school and say, "What are you doing?" I mean, I'm fine. I've nothing. It's like I have nothing against people who practice the Hindu faith, but that's not my daughter's faith, and you're compelling her to do. What are you doing?
Yes, actually, her auntie, she wrote a letter to CPS. She followed up and expressed the fact that this was not right. As we maintain in our complaint, it was a violation of the Establishment Clause and the Free Exercise Clause. This was government trying to push one religion on another. Again, this is not anything against Hindu, except for the fact that it did not belong in a public school.
Right.
Well, you mentioned, too, that Bogan was one of 8 schools. What other high schools are offering quiet time?
Well, it's been discontinued as of 2020, so the program no longer exists. And, I cannot tell you exactly all the other schools. I don't remember them off the top of my head, but there were 8 southwest suburbs schools that were implementing quiet time.
Did you get was there any response from the David Lynch Foundation? Was perhaps something lost in translation that this was supposed to be voluntary, and we were not intended to being a party to trying to push this on kids. It was just an opportunity or something like that. Did anything potentially get lost in translation?
No, they definitely, I believe, they insisted that the 3-day training program be, continued along with the quiet time. So the defendant's position was that the parents were told through an opt-out form, which, Mariah maintains that her mother never received that opt-out form. And we do represent 2 other students, one which settled and another which is pending. And both of them also said their parents did not receive any opt-out form.
Yeah, I mean, this would be the obvious, pick a religion, any religion. If you force every kid to recite the Our Father or the Apostolic Creed, I mean, you think there'd be any problems? You think the ACLU would be on the case? Of course they would. I mean, it's just bizarre. This wasn't, just to be clear, this wasn't like a comparative religions unit, right? Where we're going to look at Hinduism, we're going to look at Christianity, Judaism, the world religions, and get a better understanding, like an introductory understanding of some of the commonalities and distinctions.
Absolutely not. In fact, Mariah indicated in several of the interviews that she had already done that she felt confused, she felt scared, she felt alone, angry. She made her voice heard to the teachers. She looked up the mantra herself on the internet to find out what it was. She was not at all told that this was some sort of part of a comparative religion class. She didn't know what was going on. It made her feel very upset. It did the opposite effect of what meditation is supposed to do.
And CPS, they chose to litigate this or they chose to settle it?
This is what's called an offer of judgment. The federal rules, if the defendant approaches the plaintiff with what is called an offer of judgment, if the plaintiff accepts it, then that is a public record, opposed to the other case we had, which is a settlement conference where we can't discuss any part of the settlement. But because it's an offer of judgment that they came to us with, we are absolutely allowed to discuss it and explain, what occurred.
And so what occurred?
What occurred is that basically David Lynch Foundation decided to pay $75,000, as did the Board of Education of the City of Chicago, $75,000, for a total of $150,000 to Mariah Green's case.
Judith Kott, Senior Associate Attorney, Mauck and Baker, Mauck, M-A-U-C-K, Baker.com, if you want to go look up the complaint and get all the details, but I think you provided a nice summary. Judith Kott, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you. And she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Bettenhausen Mobility is the fastest growing authorized Braun Ability dealer serving the Chicagoland area. Bettenhausen offers a complete lineup of wheelchair accessible vehicles with the options to fit all your mobility needs. As a Braun Ability dealer, Bettenhausen Mobility can provide sales and service to all accessible vehicles and mobility solutions on several makes and models. Whether you need side entry with manual or power operation or different ramp options, Bettenhausen Mobility has a solution for you. Showroom open at BettenhausenMobility.com.
Lots of channels, nothing to watch, especially if you're looking outside of big corporate control. It's time to interrupt your regularly scheduled programs with something worth watching. The new Salem News Channel. Straightforward, unfiltered, in-depth insight and analysis from the greatest collection of conservative minds, all in one place. SNC is home to Dennis Prager, Mike Gallagher, Sebastian Gorka, and more. Watch anytime on any screen. Free 24/7. Find what you're looking for at snc.tv.
Speaking of disintegrating big cities like Chicago, since we just were, see this story?
Which one?
Secret Service agents assigned to defend Bush's granddaughter, Naomi, opened fire on a group of 3 people attempting to break into a parked unmarked Secret Service vehicle in D.C. They were breaking the window of the SUV, prompting one agent to open fire. No one was shot. The group fled the scene, according to Secret Service. This was in the Georgetown neighborhood late last night. Yeah, nice nation's capital you got there.
Oh, my friend moved there, my next door neighbor. She's miserable. Everything, when she goes to the Target, everything's locked up. And when she goes to the local park, Dan, she can't leave the stroller because if she leaves her stroller, people will steal stuff inside the stroller or just the stroller itself. It's no way to live.
A lot of people talking about testosterone, but do your homework and be sure to visit a provider you can trust. I trust my friends at Low T Center. It's where I have gotten my levels checked the past 8 years. At Low T Center, they make it easy. You walk in, you take a simple blood test, and with their on-site lab, you get your results back in about 25 minutes. If you've been feeling tired, grumpy, notice weight gain, and loss of muscle mass, these could all be signs of low testosterone levels. Low T Center is not your typical doctor's office where you have a long wait. It's concierge medicine exclusively for men. They have affordable and convenient options for treatment, including physician-monitored self-inject treatments that ship directly to you each month, so there's no need to drive to the center for weekly visits. And right now, Low T is only $25 to get your T level tested, with results back in about 25 minutes. Pretty simple, so what are you waiting for? Log on now to lowtcenter.com to book your appointment online. That's lowtcenter.com. Tell them Dan Proft sent you when you do. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
The holidays. Back again. Visiting with family and friends this time of year can bring great joy and happiness. But it also can unfortunately bring stress, hypertension, and overeating, all of which can make your blood pressure skyrocket. High blood pressure is one of the world's leading risk factors for death and disability, and often leads to stroke, heart attack, and kidney damage. That's why Chicago's very own Ira Antelis developed 120 Life, a juice drink and powder that lowers your blood pressure naturally. I'm drinking it, I love it, and it works like a charm for me. And for those with diabetes, the powdered form of 120 Life has just 1 gram of sugar. If you suffer from high blood pressure around the holidays or whenever, give 120 Life a try. It's a fantastic alternative to pharmaceutical drugs. Order today at 120life.com. That's 120life.com. Use coupon code LIBERTY at checkout. Save 15%. From all of us at 560 AM, my friends at 120 Life, have a wonderful holiday season, and please don't overeat. It's hard to believe, but 2024 will be here soon. Before you get caught up in all the busy holiday season shopping and whatnot, ask yourself, what are you doing now to put your retirement in a better position for the future? Sean Thompson here for my friend Tom Fortino of Alpha Wealth Group. Tom has prepared a 2023 year-end planning report. This report will show you ways to reduce your tax burden on your retirement savings, income strategies that don't depend on a volatile market, and ideas on how to protect and pass down assets to your loved ones. Tom has been helping build financial plans for retirements for over 2 decades, and he's sharing his knowledge and experience in this report. Call Tom today at 630-934-1855 and ask for the 2023 year-end planning report. That's 630-934-1855 or visit alphawealthgroup.com. And listen to the Alpha Wealth Hour right here on AM 560 The Answer, Saturday mornings at 9 a.m.
Advisory services through Retirement Wealth Advisors, LLC, and SEC Registered Investment Advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Alpha Wealth Group, licensed in Illinois.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Amy, speaking of the disintegration of great cities and the lawlessness that reigns in cities and states that are controlled by Democrat socialists, including, of course, our borders, the 60 Minutes piece yesterday
Pretty
on
disturbing.
the Iranian assassination program. The Iranians, the mullahs in Tehran, contracting with freelancers in America to put hits on former top officials in the Trump administration, as well as Iranian dissidents living in America. And it's really interesting. So, I mean, there's layers to this, but one of the layers is these aren't, jihadist assassins. They're contracting with criminals in this country from a variety of countries that shouldn't be in this. That shouldn't be in this country.
Yeah, they're being hitmen, and one person on the list, John Bolton's on the list.
Yeah, here he is in the context of the larger description of what's happening.
This video was posted online by a channel affiliated with Iran's Revolutionary Guard. It vows to kill former American government officials, including President Trump, to avenge the 2020 U.S. assassination of the terrorism mastermind Qasem Soleimani. Threats like this have been deemed credible enough that several of these officials have been under round-the-clock protection, including former Defense Secretary Mark Esper, former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. Iran reportedly offered a hitman $1 million to kill him, and John Bolton, the former National Security Advisor.
They bargained the price for me would be $300,000, which I have to say I found insulting.
So what exactly was the plot against you?
The Revolutionary Guard sought to procure either my kidnapping or my assassination, not directly by a Revolutionary Guard's member, but by seeking a hitman who would carry out the job either in the U.S. or abroad.
The FBI has an arrest warrant out for this Iranian officer, claiming that he hired the hitman online to travel to Washington, corner Bolton in a garage, and kill him. But it turned out, lucky for Bolton, the assassin was an FBI informant.
This was not internet chatter. This was a negotiation to murder an American citizen, a former government official.
Is the threat against you ongoing?
We've got marked Secret Service cars that say police, United States Secret Service, outside my home.
He's not the only one. So an Iranian dissident named Masih Alinejad, who is a activist promoting basically women's equality in Iran, removal of the requirement to wear a hijab, and she's got a bunch of followers. Well, she's been targeted for elimination by the Iranians too. And I mentioned other countries. Part of her story was the Iranians contracting with an Azerbaijani criminal here who's on the Ring camera video outside her home before he's captured to kill her.
It's like, wow, the government from my own country trying to kill me, but my adopted country trying to protect me. You have to be an Iranian to survive assassination plot, to understand that how it feels to survive in America and to have the platform and to criticize the U.S. government.
You're tearing up. Tell me why you're tearing up.
Because people in my country get killed for criticizing, get shot in head for the crime of criticizing.
Yeah, nice reminder about what makes America different, why America is exceptional. The left may want to take judicial notice of what Ms. Alinejad had to say. Also, the Biden administration may want to take judicial notice of not just our porous, non-existent southern border, but also still, Iran exported nearly 1.4 million barrels of oil per day in October. That's its average for 2023. That's up 80% per day as compared to what it averaged under Trump. They're not enforcing, this administration, not enforcing the sanctions. Meanwhile, Iran has sponsored the more than 40 attacks on U.S. troops in Iraq and Syria in the week since October 7th. And the reports, FDD, Foundation for Defense of Democracies, say the Iranian surge in oil exports has brought in between $32 and $35 billion in excess profits. Heritage Foundation puts the total haul of the Iranians under this president at closer to $70 billion. And Ms. Alinejad, who's been targeted by elimination by the mullahs, she says one of the things you need to stop doing if you want to stop this, stop negotiating with terrorists, like the leading state sponsor of terror. It's just remarkable Remarkable stuff. Remarkable incompetence of this administration.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Incompetence and worse, maliciousness in the direction of America. At 8:38, we mentioned it earlier in the program, a case study in government bureaucracy and regulation. The Endangered Species Act turns 50. How are all those endangered critters doing? 8:38.
But now straight into the newsroom we go. Here's Mike Scott.
It's 8:34. 45 degrees, and we'll have sunshine for the opening 3 days of this week. The UN says one of its facilities in Gaza was damaged by an Israeli naval strike on Sunday. Donald Trump Jr. is set to return to court as the first defense witness in the Trump Organization's civil fraud trial in New York. Former British PM David Cameron has made a shock return to high office, appointed Foreign Secretary today in a major shakeup of the Conservative government after the firing of Home Secretary Suella Braverman, who drew anger for accusing British police of being too lenient with pro-Palestinian protesters. 2 men were shot, one fatally, in a shooting early Sunday morning in Chicago. Officers found 2 victims in the 3000 block of South Trumbull. A 22-year-old man was rushed to Mount Sinai Hospital, where he later died. Marnie Yang, convicted in 2011 of killing the longtime girlfriend of Bears player Sean Gale, is looking to request a new trial. She's due in a Lake County courtroom today for a judge to hear that request. The family of a man who was killed trying to stop a car thief last month on Chicago's Near West Side is calling on police to speed up that investigation. A march was held yesterday in honor of Salvador Herrera, gunned down on October 15th. Chicago sports, DeMar DeRozan dropped in 29 Bulls over the Pistons, 119-108. Blackhawks gave up a key third-period goal in a 4-3 loss to the Panthers. Hawks host Tampa on Thursday. The News is a service of Salem Surround, a local digital marketing agency. Go to surroundchicago.com today. A check of traffic and weather is coming up next on AM 560.
Now may be the perfect time for you to rethink how you pay for health care. And here's why. Not only is it open enrollment for a lot of people, it's also a time you can join Medi-Share and save even more than usual. For many families, switching to Medi-Share saves about $500 a month, which is a game changer for a lot of people. But what's more, they like it. Medi-Share has double the member satisfaction rate compared to health insurance. Double. Medi-Share is a proven thing, too. For over 30 years, it's a Christian community of more than 400,000 members. And here's the thing, too. If you join before November 15th and you mention the promo code SHARE, you'll get another $150 savings. So I'll give you the number here in a second, but just call. You'll get a price within 2 minutes. And again, the deadline's November 15th. So call now and you'll save even more. Here's the number. 844-47-BIBLE. That's 844-47-BIBLE. 844-47-BIBLE.
Homeowners experiencing low water pressure, rusty yellow water, little to no hot water, or pressure so low that showering is difficult?
Honey, don't flash. I'm in the shower.
These are all symptoms of clogged and corroded galvanized water pipes that are filled with gunk older than you. You should see it. It's disgusting. You drink it, brush your teeth with it, and bathe in it. Yuck. For your family's sake, repipe your home with quality PEX or copper pipes from All Affordable Plumbing. We're your local family-owned and operated repiping expert. We can repipe your home in 1 to 3 days with minimal disturbance, and we include a lifetime guarantee. And for a limited time, we're offering 12-month no-interest, no-payment financing and a free water heater. So if you have low water pressure, call for a free in-home estimate at 800-NEW-PIPE or visit allaffordable.org. That's 800-NEW-PIPE or visit allaffordable.org. If you have low water pressure, a copper repipe will get you flowing again. Call for a free estimate at 800-NEW-PIPE. That's 800-NEW-PIPE.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Catholic Cemeteries of Chicago. Ensure your legacy lives on. Set your final wishes in place. Visit CatholicCemeteriesChicago.org.
8:38, let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time is a service of Staples Stores. Staples holidays mean amazing savings for the holiday season. Right now, save 50% on custom holiday cards and invites, as well as custom photo gifts like mugs and calendars. Offer ends 12/16. Visit staples.com/print for more details. Have yourself a merry little holiday deal at Staples. On the roads, Eden's sitting at 32 Lake Cook Road into the junction. The Kennedy right now is at an hour and 25 minutes from O'Hare to the Burns Circle interchange. Stevenson stop and go between Western and the Dan Ryan. It's an hour from 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Tri-State stop and go northbound between Ogden and the Ike. Crawling ramp due to an earlier crash on the outbound side at North Avenue. The Reagan slows up eastbound between Cermak and the Tri-State. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Mild today, plenty of sunshine. We'll top out at 63 with a low of 37 overnight. 45 in sunshine right now at O'Hare, 46 at Midway, 47 Lakefront. Your next news update is at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy talking earlier in the program about Trump's comments in response to a politicized Department of Justice, and Obama's favorite Republican New York Times columnist David Brooks expressing concern and horror out loud, not just about Trump's comments about sicking prosecutors on political opponents if he gets elected.
And he said that during his interview with Univision, right?
It's just a way for him to illustrate what's happening to him. He could have been more clear, but the response, the hysterics from the left are absurd as per usual. But the Brooks also mentions, he wants to expand the list, expand the number of political appointees who are now civil service appointees, and this would politicize the Justice Department as if that has not already substantially occurred. David Brooks being, purposely naive for the sake of his pearl clutching. And one of the things we were talking about in that conversation was, take a page out of Ramaswamy's book. Rather than placing public sector union hacks or civil service hacks with political hacks, how about just reducing the number of hacks altogether in the federal bureaucracy? How about draining the swamp by greatly reducing the number of inhabitants in the swamp, agency by agency? Because the examples are legion, and it's not always imprisonment or freedom on the line directly in the sense of imprisonment, but freedom is always on the line when government meddles in the private affairs of American citizens, including as it pertains to their private property, which is sort of the cornerstone of a free society. So I took notice of this piece over at Reason Magazine, memorializing maybe the 50th anniversary of the Endangered Species Act. Well, who could be opposed to that?
You're saving lives that are endangered. Yes.
Very few, right? I'll save all the furry little creatures. Yeah. Is that what's really happened over the last 50 years since the Endangered Species Act?
Don't wear fur.
As Reason points out, 99% of the species listed under the statute have avoided going extinct over that last half century. This is one of the accomplishments that's suggested.
That's good, right? Is that the purpose and their mission?
Yet less than 3% of listed species have ever successfully recovered and come off the list. The point would be to see those species on the list proliferate and come off the list, not forever be on the list at the edge of the abyss, right? Is that logical? Maybe one of the reasons why it suggests is the Endangered Species Act is nearly all stick and no carrot. The law takes a regulation-first approach that all too often makes an endangered species a liability to avoid rather than an asset to conserve. That's sort of government's approach with everything. Everything is a liability, including you and me. Liabilities to manage rather than assets to conserve or develop or allow to develop in their own rights outside of the purview of government minders. Punitive policies turn would-be partners like farmers and ranchers who are interested in conservation. They turn would-be partners in recovery into enemies of rare species. It's why a popular colloquial stance toward endangered species has long been called the 3 S's: shoot, shovel, and shut up. Unless there's a change in the law's approach toward the people who can provide so much important habitat for at-risk species, the prospects for rare species don't seem likely to improve. And, of course, that was the thought behind the law initially. Don Young, Republican from Alaska, before he passed away at a hearing a few years ago, so this is 4 decades plus into it, he said this: as the one person in Congress, the only one that voted for the Endangered Species Act, please beat me with a whip.
Okay.
When the act passed, he said congressional members were told it would save leopards, not wildlife like mussels and snails and turtles. Virtually everyone envisioned the law protecting bald eagles and manatees, not halting infrastructure builds or slowing economic development in the name of obscure fish. But that's, of course, what happened. University of California, Berkeley law professor Holly Doremus. Essentially, no skepticism was expressed about the law's conservation goals or its regulatory strategies. There was no organized interest group opposition. No one voted against the Senate bill. It's easy to get everybody to sign on with protecting whales and grizzly bears, but people didn't anticipate that things they wouldn't notice or wouldn't think beautiful would need protection in ways that would block some economic activity. But a lot of interested parties figured that out. And so the snail darter prevented a dam from being built on the Little Tennessee River. The famous spotted owl and the logging industry in the Pacific Northwest. It's also, too, what Americans understand about this. Because, again, it's the endearingly titled piece of legislation, and it speaks to things everyone loves, like animals, the natural habitats, and that's what the politicians say we're protecting, so they wouldn't lie to us, would they?
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. You can also reach us on our text line, 64636. Type in DA, then a quick comment.
And it's just a handful of these cuddly and lovable, majestic, beautiful species. Well, not really. Americans typically estimate that the Endangered Species Act protects like 100 domestic species of animals. Yeah, it's more like 1,600. And again, the environmentalists, the eco-supremacists, Greta Thunberg and the gang, and others like her, have figured out how to use this law in the way that Fannie Willis's uses the racketeering law in Fulton County. They figured out how to use it that way in California, too, where, as you'll recall, bees are now fish.
Oh, how does that work?
Bees are now fish in California. Fiona Harrigan from Reason explains how bees have been transformed into fish in California.
For the past few years, government officials and agricultural groups in California have been fighting over the question, are bees fish? In May, the California Court of Appeal for the 3rd District finally ruled on the matter. They are. Bees are fish. The California Endangered Species Act prohibits the import, export, possession, purchase, sale, or killing of roughly 250 plant and animal species. Birds, mammals, amphibians, reptiles, plants, and fish are on the list, but insects aren't. So how did state officials, at the request of environmental groups, end up getting those bumblebees added? By declaring them fish, and the appeals court agreed. So what is a fish? According to the California Endangered Species Act, the word refers to a wild fish, mollusk, crustacean, invertebrate, amphibian, or part, spawn, or ovum of any of those animals. The key word there is invertebrate. Because they don't have backbones, the appeals court ruled that bumblebees could reasonably be designated as fish, since the word is considered a term of art, meaning it has a definition within a specific field that diverges from common usage. A problem with this argument is that it seriously undercuts the idea that law is supposed to be clear and accessible to ordinary people, notes George Mason University law professor Ilya Somin. The average person has a particular understanding of what the word fish means, and when reading the law, would be hard-pressed to figure out that harming bees is a no-no. And yet, any farmer who harms or kills one of these protected bees could be punished with fines or have their pesticide permits rescinded. And, by the way, farmers will have to distinguish the 4 protected types of bees from the 21 other bumblebee species that can be found in California. The court's ruling might also empower activists to further stretch the legal definitions of the California Endangered Species Act as they try to get more critters protected. The California Fish and Game Commission may list any invertebrate as an endangered or threatened species if the invertebrate meets the requirements of the relevant statutes, the court ruled. Ladybugs, scorpions, moths, butterflies, maybe someday they can be fish too.
Maybe someday the politicians in D.C., also invertebrates, could be fish as well. Now, I mean, that's the absurdity. That's where this goes. Did you think that any of those deep thinkers that passed this legislation and all of the administrators of the agencies that have, for whom the Endangered Species Act is relevant over the years, over 50 years, that this would be the application? And no, but it's the creep. It's the weaponization. It's interest groups using this for motives that are ulterior to the preservation of habitat or particular species. And so you wind up in this grotesque place where you have the state of California, through a court of law, declare bees to be fish. Right?
It's embarrassing.
Harry in Novi, Michigan.
Novi.
Good morning.
The land of Jim Harbaugh, the cheater.
Yeah, right.
All right, Harry, go ahead.
Fine, I guess we'll let you on the line. What do you want?
Well, in my time up here, I came across near Battle Creek, Michigan. Mr. Kellogg of the Kellogg Foods fame had a farm, and about 100 years or so ago decided that he would set up a bird sanctuary. It's now run by a university, and they take in injured birds as well. However, the main reason he set this up was due to a bird on the extinction list at that time, and I'm curious to wonder if it still is, but it's our beloved Canada goose. And, the ones we can't run into with our cars even accidentally without getting ticketed or charged. So I just wanted to throw that out there, that you can thank Mr. Kellogg for all of the doo-doo that's all over our parks, etc.
I find it very hard
Thanks,
to believe
Harry.
that they're on the endangered species list. They're everywhere. They're worse than rats in Chicago. Dan and Amy text on the text line. When you can't define a woman, how can you define a fish?
Well, exactly. I mean, that's where we're at, right? I mean,
Yep,
right? It
macro world.
just folds it all in. Yeah, I think the Canadian geese were on the list, and probably still are. Most of them are. Jim in South Elgin.
Well, good show, guys. It was good seeing you on over the weekend at the summit. Isn't there some exemptions made for the windmills, because they kill a lot of birds? So didn't it get some sort of exemption so you put those in there?
I'm sure. Thanks for the call, Jim. Yeah, I haven't heard. I mean, sure, we subsidize the production of windmills, so certainly we're going to indemnify the windmill makers from having their product kill a Canadian goose. Yeah, I mean, but right, all of these contradictions, they just multiply when you're making ridiculous policy that's completely rooted in sentiment and without any concern about unintended consequences, without even thinking through direct consequences.
Dan and Amy, if anything without a backbone can be considered a fish, then the capital is an aquarium.
Exactly right. By the way, this was interesting, too, from the Reason piece, just in terms of what the kind of economic damage this does, too, which is certainly part of the cost-benefit analysis, or it should be, when it comes to regulation. A 2020 study looked at 13,000 real estate transactions within or near critical habitat for 2 listed species in California. It found a designation of a critical habitat for the red-legged frog cut land values by about half, and designations for the bay checker spot butterfly slash values by an estimated 78%. Yeah, better have an expert in every animal genus, phylum, species under the sun take a look at your property in certain places and make sure nothing on the endangered list is on your property before you buy it. Otherwise, it's going to be at some point it's going to be lay fallow. You won't be able to sell it or take a loan against it. You got a white elephant on your hands, which will also be on the endangered species list.
Yeah,
I'm sure
exactly.
too. Don in Bloomingdale.
You could also thank Disney and Pixar for making every animal, insect, and bird in the world a cuddly, furry, talking animal that you want to hug. And that's why people go out to Yellowstone and want to feed and hug the bears and get mauled.
Yeah. All right, Don. Bill, Monticello, Indiana.
Yeah, good morning, guys. Down here in Monticello, we have a couple of large lakes formed 100 years ago by damming up the Tippecanoe River. And during the last period of low rain, they completely drained the lower lake to keep water over the endangered mussels in the river below the dam. And completely drained in the lake, property values dropped, people lost the ability to use their property, and businesses that earned their livings off the lake were put out of business. And in addition to that, when they completely drained this lower lake, they exposed thousands of ordinary brown mussels to the air, and they all died and stunk, just to save a handful of special mussels downstream.
It's perfect. Thanks for the
How poetic.
Thanks for the call. But no, it's perfect, and that's a perfect illustration of the lunacy of the eco-supremacists.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
At Signature Bank, going the distance for business banking customers is what we do every day. We understand that business owners have a strategic mission, a drive to succeed, a plan for growth, and don't have time to wait for a bank to respond. With Signature Bank, you not only have a banking partner that has roots right here in Chicago, but our decisions are made locally too. Signature Bank knows that when you have a question or problem about your business, you want answers. You need someone who will pick up the phone or respond to your text. You need someone who is always there for you. That's Signature Bank. We are a team that wants to get to know you and your business. Want to be Signature Bank's next success story? Give us a call today at 773-467-5630 or visit us online at signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
All right, I just did it. Took my Balance of Nature. I cracked my capsules into warm water, and I love it because I'm not getting enough fruits and veggies on my own. And who is these days? Everybody's busy going through fast food. You're not going to get anything nutritious out of that. So do something for yourself. Get Balance of Nature. 800-875. Well, let me see if I can remember that number. I only say it all the time. 800-246-8751. That's 800-246-8751. 31 whole fruits and vegetables, real food, real nutrition. People who take and have increased energy, they feel like they're getting their health back because there is a wide variety of fruits and vegetables. So feel better and get healthy. 800-246-8751 and use discount code Chicago.
Are you looking for a way to preserve our founding history and American spirit for generations to come? Look no further than the blueprints of Liberty Brick. Each brick you purchase helps build Liberty Village, a family destination where youth and families will encounter history like never before. You'll feel a sense of pride and belonging when you see your name engraved on a brick in Liberty Village. The Blueprints of Liberty Brick is a way to leave your mark on the future while preserving our nation's rich heritage. Liberty Village will impact hundreds of thousands of visitors, capturing the lives, moments, and stories of the greatest men and women in our nation's founding history. Join us in creating a legacy for generations to come. Visit UnitedWePledge.org today to order your Blueprints of Liberty Brick and learn more about this monumental project.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, big thank you again to everyone who attended Freedom Summit. Dan, next year we're going to get a GoFundMe for you so that you can get yourself a sports coat.
Yeah.
So it doesn't look like you just came off the links and stumbled into the Westin and Itasca.
Still, suffering from the after effects of Ian.
Okay.
No wardrobe.
All right, thanks to George Hoffman, who's in for Justin Kosick, and to Quinn McCarthy. Plenty of sunshine today, high in the low 60s. It is 9 a.m., WIND, Chicago.
4,300 strikes and tunnels, too. Fox News, I'm Therese Crowley. Day 38 of the war between Israel and Hamas. Israeli aircraft and ground forces have conducted 4,300 strikes, about 300 tunnel shafts where Hamas are taking cover. Fox's Trey Yingst in southern Israel.
Overnight, the Israelis ramped up airstrikes along the Gaza Strip. They've been targeting not just the northern part of Gaza, but also the central part. Palestinian media reporting that Khan Yunis, Gaza's second largest city, was hit overnight. The Israelis are working to support their infantry troops that are operating on the ground inside Gaza. Much of the fighting is taking place near the Al-Shifa hospital in the center part of the northern Gaza Strip. We understand that the Israelis have offered the hospital some fuel and also the evacuation of civilians, but they've been having trouble in the communication with Hamas and also the health ministry inside Gaza that reportedly refused the fuel that was offered by the Israelis.
IDF says 44 of their soldiers have been killed since the ground operation in Gaza. Israel says it tried to supply fuel to a Gaza hospital that its troops have surrounded, but Hamas refused the fuel, and Hamas now claiming 2 babies died for lack of power. U.S. warplanes striking a pair of facilities in eastern Syria used where Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard are training fighters, taking out 6 to 7 Iranian proxy fighters in retaliation for attacks against U.S. military bases in Iraq and Syria. And Israeli troops on the ground in Gaza with a delicate mission of keeping civilians safe but eliminating Hamas soldiers. Israel leader Benjamin Netanyahu.
We're proceeding as quickly as we can, but also as carefully as we can, because we want to minimize civilian casualties and we want to minimize casualties on our side while maximizing the casualties on of the Hamas terrorists.
On NBC's Meet the Press, America is listening to Fox News.
45 degrees in Chicago. It's 9:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. 2 men were shot, one fatally, Sunday in the Little Village neighborhood. Officers found the 2 victims in the 3000 block of South Trumbull Avenue around 3:50 a.m. 22-year-old man was shot in the head, rushed to Mount Sinai Hospital, and later died. Marty Yang, convicted in 2011 of killing the longtime girlfriend of Bears player Sean Gale, is looking to request a new trial. Yang is due in court today in Lake County. A judge will hear that request. Yang was convicted in 2011 of killing Ronnie Reuter and her unborn child. Reuter was the longtime girlfriend of Sean Gale. Chicago sports found the Bulls over the Pistons 119-108. Zach LaVine had 19, Kobe White 16 in the win. And the Bulls visit the Bucks later on tonight. Blackhawks gave up a third-period goal and a 4-3 loss to Florida. Connor Bedard lit the lamp. Hawks now get back on the ice and prep for the home side of the home-and-home with Tampa on Thursday. Bears begin a week of preparation against the 7-2 Lions. Chicago visits Detroit on Sunday. Detroit coming off a Sunday win over the Chargers. And college hoops this week. The 2-0 Illini host number 7 Marquette. That's tomorrow night. The news is a service of Turnkey.pro. Their team of veteran consultants knows how to reduce cost and grow new revenue streams, all without having to hire on-site professionals. Turnkey has solutions for your business. Visit Turnkey.pro, Turnkey.pro. A check of traffic and weather is on the way next on AM 560.